to have each one here today. As always, if you would just take a few minutes to put your cell phone on silent, that would help out tremendously. And if you need to talk on your telephone, if you would just maybe please step outside and talk outside instead of inside. As always, we'll open up with a word of prayer along with pledge, which would Sly would do the pledge. So if we will, let's all stand up for the prayer, please. Let us pray. Father, Lord, we just thank you and give you thanks for everything, Lord, that you've done for us. And Father, we acknowledge, Lord, that you are the King of kings and Lord of lords. And Father, we pray today for our nation, as well as it's going through troubled times, Lord. And also we pray for Israel. Lord, the times that is happening over there in that country, Lord, we just ask that our nation will continue to stand with them and beside them, Lord. And Father, most of all, Lord, we just thank you for who you are and what you've done in our lives, Lord. And we ask that you continue to bless Madison County, Lord, as we continue to grow and move forward, Lord. The things we do would be pleasing in your sight, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Will?
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Lott, you're
Mr.
up.
President, you should have before you the October the 2nd board minutes. I would ask if there are no changes, the board please approve said minutes.
Okay, are there any changes? If not, do I have a motion?
Second.
Got a motion from Supervisor Jones, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, next is concerned citizens, and the one that we have on is Miss Bunny Wright. Is Miss Wright here? Miss Wright? Please come up and have, yes, come up to the podium and state your name and address, and 2 minutes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Flonzie Brown Wright, a Cantonian, born and raised in Farm Haven, Mississippi. I have given you a handout as to why my purpose is today. Excuse me. The Mississippi Humanities Council is awarding Freedom Trail markers to organizations and individuals.
Ma'am, Greg, is that microphone on?
I have a throat issue. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for bearing with me. I have a throat
That's
issue.
okay.
The Mississippi Humanities Council is awarding Freedom Trail markers to individuals and groups. I have been asked to apply for one, even though there are probably about 50, 60 around the state. I have been asked to apply for one because of the work that I did in this city and county. In 1968, I was elected to the Election Commission's position in Madison County and worked in the courthouse. And I'm asking you to partner with me in support of this idea. I will be submitting a proposal to the council by the end of the month. And I'm just asking for your support as we continue to make Canton and Madison County one of the greatest areas to live in and to be from. I apologize for my voice. I had surgery some years ago, and it left my left vocal cord paralyzed. But anyway, you have the information, and I'm asking that the Board of Supervisors of my county partner with me to erect a marker in the courthouse courtyard near the steps of the front. I had the opportunity to introduce Dr. King on those steps in 1966, as my book reflects. So as you have an opportunity to look over the material and information, my request is a basic one, that you partner with me, that I can use the supervisor's name as a supporting partner for this venture. Is that 2 minutes?
Well done. Yeah. Look, and I've been knowing you all my life, Flonzie. I'd like to make the motion that the Board of Supervisors endorse and support Ms. Flonzie Wright in the efforts of getting the
marker placed at the courthouse.
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Banks, second by Supervisor Griffin. Discussion?
Yeah, haven't had time to look through all the information you gave me, Ms. Wright. What are basically, in a nutshell, you looking for? Just a letter in support of the Board of Supervisors of what?
Or just a vote. It is no cost to you, just a vote that I can use your name when I present the proposal.
Okay.
So it's nothing laborious, it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just that I can say that I have met with the Board of Supervisors and you're one of the partners. They require community partners that, from where the marker is being requested to be placed.
I have a question.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
does the marker look like? Do you have any pictures or anything?
I do. If you can go to the courthouse by the gazebo, there was one in honor of Mr. James Meredith when the 1966 march came through here. But I have pages of that.
Enough to
Just
share
pass
those?
around.
Yeah, or, yeah, let me see.
Ms. Wright, I would think that once you get the authorization for approval and the marker is designed, that you would bring it back to the board
I will do
for
that.
final approval.
The Humanities Council will do the verbiage. I will do the draft.
Yes.
They will agree to the verbiage and also help write it. But it's basically about the work that we did in my day, in my 60 years of service to this county.
Okay. Other questions? If not, got a motion, got a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. Wright.
Fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right.
Any other concerned citizens at this point?
Three more, yes, sir. First on the list is Matthew Scott.
Matthew?
There he is.
Wow, I feel honored to come behind such a wonderful lady who has done so much for this county.
Ms. Scott, if you would, state your name, address for the board.
My
for the
name
minutes.
is Matthew Scott. Good morning to everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
And my address is 982B Cedar Hill Road in Madison, Mississippi. We're in the county. This is my third time appearing before the board with the Cedar Hill Road concern. The concern may seem to you to be just another citizen complaining about what your permit department has allowed. Quite naturally, your first option is to be loyal to that department. But if a mistake are being made, maybe you shouldn't show so much support. Today, you will be determining if contractors and others can buy land in Madison County, where it's less than in the city, to put up sheds, storage buildings to store construction material, heavy equipment, dump trailers, big dozers, car hauling trailers, bobcat tractors, dirt excavators, trucks, boats, cars, etc., until they are needed for one of their work projects. Article X of the Residential Estate District seems to suggest that this should not be done. If you believe such structures should not be the only structure on the land solely for the use of business, we urge you to do a better job of making sure that projects aesthetically complements the existing developments already in place. And if one slips through the permit department, you would have the owner to make changes immediately to better serve the community adjacent to it. That's all I have.
Okay.
Mr. Banks, I think you've been working on this project or working with Mr.
Yeah, and Scott needs to come forward because I'd asked Scott to take a look at what we're finding out about this whole incident, you know, it's anticipated that outbuildings are out from the house. There's no house here.
Right.
And this particular piece of property is being used as a commercial piece of property. I don't think that it actually fits the zoning. Scott, can you tell us more?
This item's going to be addressed under number 52. Mr. Kelly is here to,
Okay,
he is the landowner at that location.
okay.
Mr. Kelly is the landowner.
Yes.
Do y'all want to go ahead and take this now?
I think so.
Let's take it up now while we here, because I know we're going to have some time between now and then, you know, a good bit of time. So if Mr. Kelly's here, we'll go ahead and take it up now. And,
Kelly?
and see. Mr. Kelly? Please state your name, give your address, and tell the board what you'd like for us to know.
My name's Chris Kelly. I live at 109 Laird Avenue. I have this piece of property for my personal stuff. I'm a residential builder, just like Matt. I subcontract everything out. I do not operate out of that place. I don't have a mailbox there. I don't have signage on anything. I have a boat. I have my personal stuff, deer stands, the trailers that I have there, I use for personal stuff. The equipment, some of what he's mentioned, skid steer, not mine, it's my brother's. I have a pressure washing set up there that I allow my neighbor to leave. I've got, you know, it's a work in progress at this point because I'm going to enclose the building, but I have not done so yet. So, you know, I'm paying as I go, and you know, I have the guys over there that work on my trailer to get it repaired, which he's saying people over there all the time. Those are people that are working on the shop or either working for me to fix a trailer. I use it for my personal stuff. I got deer stands over there. You know, I live in Reunion. You can't keep anything in Reunion. I needed somewhere to store my stuff, and that's what I use this property for.
Yeah, man, I'm still under the impression that you have chosen a property that is in a residential zoning, and I don't think that you are doing what
There's
is
nothing in the
intent.
ordinance that says I can't have an outbuilding there.
You know, outbuilding, whenever I hear the word outbuilding, you know, I'm expecting out from something, and that would be out from the home.
Does the ordinance say that I can't do that first?
Well,
Not as far as I understand.
I think the ordinance, you know, and I don't want to get argumentative, but it seems that the intent of the ordinance to allow outbuildings is that is residential property and there will be a home there. Your intent that's
you
going
know
to be a
of.
storage. Well, now you just said that you live in Reunion and
Yeah.
you can't have, so you're using that as a storage facility. So
This property is big enough, I can build a house at some point down the road. I'm not building a house right now at 9% interest. You know, that may be years down the road before I do that. But it gives me somewhere at the time that I can keep my stuff, personal stuff.
Scott, is this residential? Yes.
It is residential property, and the accessory structure in A1 and R1 is a permitted use.
How large is this structure?
It's a 40 by 60.
Okay, that's more than a structure as far as for residential guys.
It's a pole barn.
I'm here to tell you that's more than just a residential structure. I mean, I know that Mr. Scott's been up here, he said 3 times, and just listening to what you're saying now.
3 times to deal with me, 3 times to deal with everybody in the area.
He's been up here 3 times, and I'm just now really realizing what you're saying. that is more than just a shed in a residential area. That is really just being disrespectful, in my opinion. In my opinion, being disrespectful to your neighbors. If it's not built in a way that it goes and blends in with your neighbors.
Have you been to that area?
I have not, no, sir.
Okay.
But I will make a point to
There's
go this week.
outbuildings all around those houses.
Okay. Does it look like the others?
Does
it look like the others?
I have not finished it.
Will it look like the others once finished?
Yes, it will.
Do you have pictures, Scott? Did
Absolutely.
he turn in pictures? Do you mind showing the board?
Absolutely. There's copies right there.
Yeah. We just want to be fair and, and I know, and it sounds like you do. It sounds like you do as well.
Absolutely.
Can you see the structure from the road, or are there trees?
You can see part of it.
Thank you.
Well, this plans.
Mr. Scott, have you seen these design plans?
No. I've actually asked the permit department if I could come in and look at it, and Mr. Weeks told me no.
Well, here they are right here.
Okay. And you
I'm
can
not
see
sure
the structure.
why
You
we would
can see
say
the
no.
structure from the road. When you
Right.
drive up Cedar Hill Road, it's wide open. It's actually right in front of my yard. I walk out my front door, there's this big tin building, and, it's with all this stuff around.
Right. Scott?
To answer that question, no, I did not give him the plans because those belong to Mr. Kelly. And without his permission, I am not going to give those plans to him.
Have those been in front of the Planning and Zoning Board?
No, they do not because that's an accessory building.
Okay.
And residential structures don't either. Site plan only carries commercial industrial use. That's what the planning commission says.
So it have power and everything to it?
Yes.
Scott, I would suggest that you continue to work with both and see if we can't get this building to where, that it fits in with the community. Ms. Kelly?
I need this to be resolved.
That's
so
right.
that I can use the property that I pay taxes on in Madison County without being threatened. I had a confrontation with Mr. Scott the other day where he threatened to get a gun and kill me and come to my house and kill me. This is going past that point and needs to be resolved.
Well, that threat,
100% true. You called me the next morning.
Ms. Scott, address the board. With that, you should have done, you should have called law enforcement and moved on.
100% next time it happens.
If that's the case. But yes, we do want this resolved, but we want it resolved in a manner that where both parties is good with it. And I think we can get there. I really do. I think we can get there. But both parties has to be open to be able to get there. So, Ms. Banks and.
When do you plan on finishing this structure?
I'm paying as I go. So when I save enough to do the next part, I will.
So what do you want the building finished and the put inside the building and the building landscape? Is that where
Are you trying to be, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Scott.
What did you say?
You want the building finished, they're putting it inside the building and the building landscape? I mean, we can't make them tear the building down, so.
According to Article X that I passed out a couple of weeks ago, you're supposed to have a residential structure there before you build any type of building like this. He's done it backwards. So at this point, the people in the community would like to see a residential attachment to what he's doing instead of just a pole barn. So I think that would complement the area better than what he has now. And I think the permit department, and I get permits, they only give you a year to have, your project done. They don't give you 5, 10 years.
Well, I got
got a question for Scott. How did he got a permit, building permit to do this because he couldn't get the power turned on otherwise? How did we get to this point?
Could you
How
repeat
did he
that?
get the power turned on without a building permit if he didn't go through the office?
He did get a building permit.
Oh.
So he went through the proper steps.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that you went through the proper steps. It's just the design of the building, as far as trying to make it fit into the community is what I'm hearing.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah, and I see it on the design there, and, you know, as far as the time-wise, you know, it should be done within a year. But, you know, there was something that was mentioned by Mr. Scott there. Does it have to be a residential building first?
Not in that zoning. no.
Okay, so basically what he was saying then is not necessarily true.
Correct.
So, okay.
So can you put a time frame on him to finish this up and get that equipment inside and?
Well, the permit's good for 2 years. You're supposed to start construction within 6 months.
Okay.
And he
It's
is
2 years and not 1 year.
correct.
Okay. So he has another year and a half. Okay.
Sounds like we moving forward with the, you know, with the process that we have in play.
May I read this from Article X? Because it seems like we just skipping over what Article X says, and this is something that the county wrote. It says, single-family detached dwellings with only one principal dwelling per lot, accessory uses and structures associated with the use of the land, with the use of the land. That's the key point. What's there should be used for that property. He only has 2 acres. What you doing with bulldozers, dump trailers, car hauling trailers, and all that stuff, you're not gonna use it on that 2 acres of land. Everybody else that has property out there, what they have on that property, they use on that land. I have 6.5 acres. Everything I got, I use on my land. I can take it somewhere else, but it's used there as well.
I agree with you.
Scott?
Matt is a contractor. He has trailers. He has scaffolding.
I have one trailer,
All right, guys,
trailer
listen.
that I use for
Hold on one second. We're talking about this piece of property,
That's right.
only this piece of property. And Scott, is everything being followed by procedures?
Yes. Now,
Everything is being followed by procedures?
now I can't tell you exactly what equipment is used on that land or not. I
Right.
don't have any way of determining that.
Is there any equipment that he's holding there that, you know, would not be used on that land?
But I don't know. Mr. Kelly?
Trailers. I mean, how you use a trailer, I mean, a trailer is for hauling.
Yeah.
So I use my trailers for numerous things.
Other than trailers, what about bulldozers?
I don't own a bulldozer. I don't know, I mean, I don't have track hoes, I don't have bulldozers, I don't have, my brother has a skid steer he keeps over there, which is not a bulldozer.
What about dump trucks? What about?
I have trailers. I have,
All right,
well,
guys.
I have a mini truck over there, I have toys that I have.
I can understand that.
And Scott, does the ordinance say that no equipment unless it's being used on that property?
The ordinance says for the use on that property. It doesn't specify what.
All right, and so if it's not being used or can't be used on that property, then it can't be stored there.
Technically, I guess you
I
could say
mean,
that.
is that the way you would read our ordinance?
Mhm.
Okay.
Used on the, so, a vehicle, I don't use my truck on the property. I can't store my truck there when I'm there?
That's not what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we?
That was in theirs, come on back.
Yeah, I think that, you know, guys, we just want it built and built nice. That's what we want.
I'm doing exactly what I proposed I was gonna do, nothing more, nothing less. What was approved and permitted, that's what I'm doing.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am. Come up and state your name.
That's Ms. Scott.
Yes, just state your
My
name,
name is
give your
Anita
address,
Scott.
ma'am.
I live at 982B Cedar Hill Road. I'm at home. I'm a retired person, and I live at home. I mean, I'm at home all the time. There are constant trucks coming in and out of the property next door on a daily basis. They come over early in the morning and pull big, long trailers out that have bobcats on top of them, and they go to wherever. In the evening, they bring them back. I mean, it is used, to my knowledge, as a commercial storage area. And it's constantly coming in and out. The driveway was widened in order to be able to pull these big trucks, dump trailers, and back into that facility. So what the equipment that's being used there is not being used for that property.
Mr. Kelly,
I have
come up to the
farms.
mic, please.
I have a farm in Madison County that I hunt at. What she's specifying to is us loading up a tractor or a skid steer to go bush hog and clear out fire lanes and plant food plots. That's what I use it for.
Yeah, and I think we all understand what you're trying to store there.
My
You know, it's just a
personal,
matter of, I think we all want it to fit in, you know, with the area.
okay.
And the design of the building, I think, is one of the main things that we're trying to get to, so.
Which y'all have a copy of and was approved.
Ms. Banks, anything else you need to say, or would like to say, since it's in District 4?
Does anybody have a picture of this building, an actual photo?
Mr. Scott had brought some pictures here before.
Yeah, I got some.
Yeah.
Me some. Thanks, Sam. There you go. No, I just want to say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I see a lot of those type facilities out in the country, and most of them are at deer camps or a person that bought property out in the country because they live in a urban area and they want to store their, have somewhere to store their equipment. So it looked like he might have built this here on some property that he had, but it ended up being zoned residential. All the one that I've been seeing is on property that agriculture property.
Guys, I see now why they won't let you build this in Reunion.
Yeah,
Guys, I see that.
it's
I
worth
mean,
1,000 words.
Guys, I'm gonna tell you, I wouldn't want this across from my house either. I just really wouldn't. I just wouldn't, Mr. Kelly, and.
Okay, I mean.
I mean,
you have
I
an
understand where
opinion
you're
on it.
coming from, but, you know, I haven't been out there. You're exactly right. But it just doesn't, you're right, it's a pole barn.
It's a work in progress. It has not been completed yet.
Okay, I got you. I hear you. And do you think you get it completed within the next 6, 8 months?
I've got 2 years. It'll be completed by then.
What about the activity, the
I've said what
continuation
activity
of
I had a guy
Ms.
working
Scott.
on my trailer, repairing the brakes, repainted it. He welded new bracing in there for me. He was over there a couple of days working on that. We've been,
Mr.
I had a guy
Clark,
helping me plant food plots, and we were picking up equipment, going down there to plant food plots. I mean, this is my personal stuff.
yeah, Mr. Clark, Andy, come up to the mic for a few minutes. What I'm hearing here is that he went through the right process to get the permit,
Right.
and he's building. Can we not put can we not put something on, a stop use on it as far as until he gets the building completed, as far as the use?
Stop personal use?
Can we do that? Because I want to tell you, when you look at that picture,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing him say, he's not very cooperative in wanting to get this thing finished, you know? And
I'm gonna tell you,
Mr. Kelly, hold on a second.
To do it
Mr.
right now.
Kelly, hold on. And we just need to get this thing finished. He does.
I think the only way that you could put a cease to his use would be, if you guys remember a couple of years back, we had the gentleman with the paving business that he was running out of his house and parking all of his equipment there. This sounds like a little bit different of a factual scenario.
It does.
With this being his personal equipment. And I was telling Scott a minute ago, he came back there. This is one of the areas of our ordinance that is not clear because, as Mr. Scott just read, that, you know, there are accessory buildings allowed for use of the land,
Yes.
not use of the house. So, I mean, it's kind of a slippery slope because you think about things, like Mr. Griffin said, some people go out and they build a barn on their on their property before they build their house. Many people I know at Lake Caroline have gone and built a boathouse before they build their house. So it's not really clear. And I don't think that we could stop Mr. Kelly from using his property unless the facts mete out that he is using that as a business on his residential property. So to directly answer your question, I would say, based on the facts that I've heard here today, is no. We can't stop him from using that.
And basically, all we want to do is for him to finish the building.
That's right.
That's really what we're trying to get to.
Right.
And you know, because it does need to look, according to those pictures, it needs to look different than that. And you know, so that's where we are.
Right. And to be fair, that may be a screenshot in time. I don't know what his exterior facade is going to look like. I can't speak to that, but I hope I've answered your question directly.
You have. You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to, hold on, Andy.
Yeah.
I'd like to look at clearing this ordinance up, because I don't want to go through this again.
Trey, we've got a list of things that we are adding to daily that need adjustment in the ordinance. You know, it's a difficult process because we can't pinpoint every single little instance that's going to come up, and most things like this are never a problem until they're a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're compiling that list, and hopefully we'll have, you know, sort of a comprehensive revamping, I guess you'd say, along with CMPDD's input. But I agree with you. There's numerous areas of the ordinance that need some clarity.
Yeah, because you have Mr. Kelly going through the right procedures.
Yes.
You know, and that's been validated this morning. You know, Mr. Scott here, I see his issue, his complaint as well. You know, it's just a matter of working together to make this thing, to get it finished.
That's right.
That's really what it amounts to. Okay.
I've always thought if everybody leaves a little bit angry, there's probably been a pretty good deal struck.
Okay. All right, that's where we are then. We just moving on with the process.
And Mr. Scott, and I understand your feelings. And as you see, we got work to do up here to straighten out some things to make sure this doesn't happen again in this manner. I just feel as you that the resident should come first, not the outbuilding and just take your time for, I guess, 2.5 years. Since you said it's 6 months, you got to start with construction, and then another 2 years to finish construction, that you've got to deal with this at your house. And so I have to apologize to you for the county. Sorry about that. Okay.
I feel that the resident should come first.
Yeah.
If it's zoned
Residential.
But if you live in the area in the country where it's zoned agricultural, yeah, I think you'd be able to come out there and build your barn and later build your home. So keep that in mind, and we all change it.
Yes, sir.
Changing that.
Shouldn't you look at the aesthetic surroundings of what you're doing? Somebody from the permit department should go out when you get that application and see what's there, I think, before you grant a permit.
That's something to look at too, and as we go forward.
Ms. Kelly, appreciate it. Ms. Scott, thank y'all.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Going back up to concerned citizens.
Next up will be Timothy Jenkins.
Timothy, come on up. State your name, address, 2 minutes, please.
Hey, I'm Timothy Jenkins, 123 Countryside Cove, live in Madison. I want to talk about some potential election violations that occurred leading up to the primary election on 8/8 of '23. But I want to start by telling the board that I appreciate Greg Higginbotham and the work that he's done with, since August, coming up here and requesting records through the, gosh, what am I looking at? Public records request. And he's been timely, he's been considerate, and he's been helpful. One of the first things I want to hit on is leading the day before the election, which was 8/7, the records that I got from Greg this past week, 148 poll workers were trained. Election Code 2315-239 states that you cannot train poll workers 5 days before an election. So the county spent $3,552 on illegal training. Another one is 2315-265. You have to be a registered voter in the county that you're being a poll worker in to be a poll worker legally. And we have found one, and it was actually in the newspaper, so that's not a hidden thing, that a disenfranchised voter actually voted, or not voted, but was a returning receiving manager and a poll worker, which is not right. Then we found approximately just over 20 poll workers that are not registered voters in Madison County. A lot of this, I feel like, has stemmed from both parties not having a contract with the Election Commission, because neither the Madison County Republican Executive Committee or the Democrat Executive Committee has access to SIMS, which tells you if a person that's a potential poll worker is a registered voter. So when Madison County goes out and they pay the poll workers, then Madison County is liable for that. And I don't like to see us liable for something that we could have circumvented. The last thing is kind of something that I wanted to bring up too, is the primaries are the only thing that I found that the Board of Supervisors is not necessarily responsible for paying poll workers during the primary. Even though I was an election commissioner, we've set a precedence by paying poll workers for primaries. But whether it's the Board of Supervisors or the Election Commission, they need to be able to look closer into having the poll workers that are going to be working those days and have the correct number of poll workers in the precincts, because to have 12 poll workers working at a precinct that's only got 67 registered voters, by election code, that's about 12 or 9 people more than you need. That's all I got.
I got a question. Greg, if we pay the poll workers, can we force a contract on the parties? Because the parties are in control of this, not the county. We're getting drug in the middle of it, but
The primaries are, as you said, entirely the responsibility of the parties. My understanding is each party had a contract with the circuit clerk rather than the election commission. That contract was reviewed and approved by Spence Flatguard, who is the election commission attorney and knower of all things election related. I do recall the Democratic Party Chairman Howard Brown's coming in front of this board, and they were able to come to some type of agreement. So the parties do have a contract with the county, and statutorily, I've read the statute, couldn't tell you the number, but I've read the statute, and it is permissible for the parties to have a contract with either the circuit clerk or the election commission. So there is a contract in place. The exact terms of the contract, I cannot recall. All I can tell you is Spence Flatguard signed off on it, and I have the utmost confidence in him. And I believe this board and the election commission do as well, if he's watching. So I don't know that we need to force a contract on the parties, because I believe one already exists.
understand. Okay.
All right, any other discussion? If not, thank you, Timothy. All right, next on the list,
Chip Matthews.
Chip, come up, state your name, address.
Chip Matthews, 111 East Sims Street, Canton, Mississippi. Now, on the subject of the contracts, just to mention that, the contracts would be on file at the Secretary of State's office. The only one that has a contract on file at the Secretary of State's office is the Republican Party. But I'm trying to make sure that I get ahead of any corruption that occurs in the election, and since we had 148 people that should not have been working the polls this last election, and 30, I think it's right at 30 people that were ineligible to be working the polls to begin with, and of course 2 felons were the shipping and receiving clerks at the election. I would like to get a copy of and I went before the election commission and asked for a copy of the people that will be working the polls in the upcoming election, where we will have a balanced Republican to Democrat ratio in all the precincts. And I'm coming before the board to ask y'all to help me get that information, since I put it in with the public records request 7 days ago.
But that's with the election commission.
Yes.
And that's where it should come from.
Right, but Spence Flatguard shuts us down every time we speak to him, and had 2 officers in the room to take us out when we ask a question.
Very well, and I think he does a good job there.
But
I'm
you can
not
go back and
sure.
look at the videotape. He had an officer trying to arrest us in 2 meetings.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with
Okay,
you. I'm just
okay.
saying that I know Spence very well.
Okay.
He does a good job there.
And then I'm thankful that I hear that the sheriff department will be working at Fairview to handle the traffic, is what they reported. But I want to make sure that there is not a civil rights violation of having an officer at a precinct on election day. I don't want to hear that come up later on in a challenge. But that's it.
Okay, thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
Greg? Sheriff?
I can address that. We won't be on the grounds of the precinct. We will merely be in the street directing traffic for public safety.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Greg?
No more on the list, sir.
Okay.
That would be, you're on the Woodgate list, correct, Mr. Watkins? That's a separate list. Sorry, Woodgate's coming later. Oh, then you're Lake Caroline Convenience Store. Yeah, wrong list, but yes, Lake Caroline Convenience Store, I believe, is what Mr. Watkins wishes to address. So
Right.
he should be up.
All right, come on up and state your name and give your address. Yeah, we're going to get to Woodgate. It's going to be a little bit later.
I
That's
apologize.
okay.
I obviously need to pay closer attention.
It's a little unorthodox. We normally don't have 2 lists. So.
Okay, all right, okay. Mickey Watkins, 102 Burn Cove in Madison. I came before the board on August the 7th and asked that this document be made part of the minutes, asking for any records regarding I'm here to talk about the Stribling Marketplace, requesting that any documents be provided by whatever offices, Chancery Clerk, Zoning, Planning. The board at the subsequent meeting on the 21st gave Mr. Clark permission to give me the documents in that file. I've made copies of all of that. I'm here today just to ask one more time, have I received everything from the county, whether it be the Chancery Clerk's office, Planning, Zoning, whoever? I may have misunderstood since I obviously signed the wrong list. I think Mr. Clark told me that the file that he had, if I recall correctly, came from the Circuit Clerk's office. So I have received nothing from the Chancery Clerk's office. I've received nothing from Zoning and Planning on a request that's now 2 months old, over 2 months old. Subsequent to that, I found it interesting that in early June, the Zoning and Planning approved the site plan for the Stribling Marketplace, but a map showing that that land is indeed designated C2 was signed off on, and I'm sorry, I'm old and I can't read and I don't have my cheaters with me, but a map was signed by the Chancery Clerk saying that this is essentially, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't read it, essentially saying that this is certified as a copy of the original. Now, my question is, the original of this map was dated November of 2008. My understanding is this was a conceptual map, not an actual map. I could be wrong about that, but I have never once received this. I got this through another source. I've never received any of this. I want to know where my information is, that as a citizen that I requested. I still contend that there is no evidence that has been presented so far that shows this property has been approved by Zoning, Planning and approved by the board, went through the proper channels to be designated C2, and I want that information.
Okay. First of all, we want to answer your first questions. Andy, do you or Planning and Zoning know of any other info that y'all have not shared on this certain project?
No, sir. I'll be honest with you. I have not made a copy of the Chancery Clerk's file for Mr. Watkins. It's upstairs, just like I left it when I left there. So I mean, if you want to take a look at it, copy or whatever.
Will you have that copied right now and give it to him before he leaves?
I will get with Mr. Lott and we will see if we can't make that happen. Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Watkins is going to come to my office later this afternoon and pick up another document. I'll be happy to give him a copy of that file as well. The copy that he received from the Circuit Clerk's office is, in fact, everything that I've got at my office. He came and made a copy of that. Easy question on the reason for the date of the stamps. That the one that you're saying was conceptual in 2008, but it bears a stamp from just recently. That was Mr. Lott's office certifying that is a copy that is on file in his record. It wasn't.
But it's not validating that property is
no,
indeed C2.
No. The only purpose of that stamp right there was to prove that is in his office in that file. Yes. So,
Ms. Clark, if you will, just make sure he gets all information that we have as a county.
Everything I've got, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Good deal.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Other concerns?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's, we'll move on, and next scheduled matters of business is Tax Collector Kay Pace. Is she in the room? I see Miss Kay and Miss Stephanie. Today, y'all coming to give us a report on the findings of the monies. So, who's going to be speaking?
Okay. I'm just going to say good morning to you. We appreciate the opportunity to bring the information to the board and to the public.
Okay.
And Stephanie has done such a wonderful job for Madison County. And I'd like to say that in the beginning.
Okay, Stephanie, please update us and tell us where we are.
Okay, when I was here a little over a month ago, we addressed the $600,000 issue that appeared to be a shortfall and turned out to be an oversettling of things. And I told this board that there were a few other areas I'd like to look into, and you gave me permission to move forward and look at those. So I want to tell you what I saw and determine when I did that. The first one that I looked at was refunds. In my work, I heard a number of complaints about the refund process, about how these are from not employees of the tax collector's office, but outside people who had read that I was doing this work. And so I looked at the process that you go through to do a refund, and I feel like it is the refunds are primarily done by one person who has been in this office a long time, and perhaps the process is spotty and done with less oversight than is ideal. I didn't see anything wrong with what was done, except that I don't think the documentation between the refund process and the accounting process flows very well. I think that things are not very well documented. And if someone had fraud on their mind, this is an area where it could occur. So my recommendation about that would be that you've got a new administration coming in, you've got an employee that's going to retire at the end of the year, I believe, and I would love to see that process revamped to work like a business office, where there is an invoice per se, where someone's due a refund, it gets approved, the documentation is attached, the check is written, the check is signed, and the accounting office gets proof that it's paid. And, that seems very simple, but it's really just not the process that it's gone through in the tax collector's office. So I would like to see you take a hard look at that and change that going forward, because you've got a great opportunity to do it. The second thing that I looked at was the interlocal agreement with Canton. We talked about the interlocal agreement with Madison and with Ridgeland, and I found the interlocal agreement with Canton. It was adopted in the fiscal year that started October of 2008. To my knowledge, it has not been followed. Now, I did not go back and look all the way back to 2008 at the checks that were actually issued, because those records weren't there for me readily available. But I did look back as far as 2016. And I know that it has not been adhered to from 2016 forward. So if that interlocal agreement with the city of Canton had been properly applied since 2008 when it was adopted, I think the city of Canton is probably due about $475,000 from the county. Now, I don't know legally if there's a statute of limitations that prevents you from going back that far. That's just, okay, see, that's just outside my scope. So, that's outside my scope of knowledge. But I have a schedule that will show that, and it's about $45,000 a year in the last 5 years that Canton is due, based on the application of that agreement, where the county gets $75,000 of those ad valorem settlements, and then the city gets the rest. Okay. The last area that I wanted to look at, there was one other area I mentioned was tax sale, and I just wanted to look at the process because it's a once-a-year phenomenon. There really wasn't much there to look at. It's an automated process for the most part. Seems to, I didn't see any kind of margin for error there. The last thing I want to address is the bank reconciliation. The tax collector's office main bank account where millions of dollars flow, where hundreds of transactions go through every month. It's not been reconciled for 2 years. And this is astounding, and, you know, it really goes back to the fact that there's not personnel in place in that office to do that job. The tax collector's office has some long-term employees that have a wealth of institutional knowledge about how the office works, about how the settlement process works. They are not bookkeepers. And there's also a lot of manual record keeping on spreadsheets, and there's not a clear understanding of how the cash journal relates to the bank reconciliation. And they're busy people, and that's the last thing they want to fool with. So I tackle that job, and I reconcile through September of 2022 because the audit that's going on now needed that information. I found errors. I did not find missing money. I really just found a lack of understanding on how that process works. And for me, as a forensic person, it's very frightening to think that fraud could have occurred 2 years ago, and a bank reconciliation is the front line of defense for that. You know, someone, especially if you have someone on the outside, an independent person that looks at that, but you know, it could have gone on 2 years before it got caught. So my recommendation on that would be that the county consider hiring an external contractor, you know, someone in a CPA firm, someone, just hiring someone on a contract basis to come in once a month and do that. I'm not campaigning for my office to do that, but I do think that you would be well served to have someone who came in and spent a half a day every month just reconciling that cash account. I want to reiterate that the employees were very helpful to me. They have tremendous knowledge about their office. They try to do a good job. Some of them are just a little outside of their expertise. And I did not find any evidence of fraud, but I feel like it could have occurred if someone had been so inclined. So I want to thank you for letting me do this work with you. I enjoyed it. I've learned a lot. I have a written report that I'll deliver to you, Mr. Steen, and you, Ms. Pace, by the end of the week, and it goes into a little more detail about what we've discussed. Okay.
It is. There are some issues with the previous auditor that I am addressing. There's not a lot we could do as the county. The auditor came in, said it was clean. And an audit is not designed to, an audit is designed to tell you whether or not your financial statements are mostly correct, whether or not they're materially correct. Basically, they're not terribly wrong, is the same thing as being materially correct.
Correct. It looks like by this lady's numbers.
Yes, sir. And in my personal opinion, the former auditor failed. The auditor was from a firm called Fortenberry and Ballard. We don't use them anymore, and they opted out of the governmental audit game. They don't, except for school districts, they don't do counties anymore.
Is there any type of software we could get to help with this in the future?
We are working towards it. I've had conversations with the incoming tax collector, Mr. Garavelli, about switching over to one of two systems, whether that be Delta or Data. I would personally prefer Delta just because that's what the rest of the county uses, and that's what probably 80% of counties in the state use. So there are structures and procedures already in place within that software that may have caught some of this. My understanding is y'all have since added something to your existing software which would have prevented the oversettlement of the commission.
Yeah, I hear a couple of things, and First, do we have a agreement with the city of Canton now? We have one now.
Yes.
It was adopted in 2008, and it automatically renews every year, so.
But therefore, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I assume that unless it has been invalidated, that it is still in place.
And so for the last few years, then, the city of Canton has been receiving the correct amount of money that's due to them.
No.
No.
45,000 short.
They're about $45,000 short
If we have a
per
contract with them now, why wouldn't they be receiving the monies?
It's,
It was paid into the county,
yes.
and we brought that to the attention of the county administrator at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay. And that was it.
Okay, so the other cities as well, their money comes to the county as well then, and then we disperse it out.
We do.
No, when I say we, the county does, or does the tax collector?
No, the tax collector.
Okay, well, why did the tax collector?
Was erroneously paid into the county.
So the tax collector, your office paid it to the county
Right.
in error.
Right. And we found that error, and we notified the county administrator at that time.
All right, did y'all ask for the money back to where y'all could send it to the county, to the
No.
city of Canton?
No,
Okay.
I
Is it
did not.
corrected today?
I did not want that money back.
Is it
No.
corrected today?
No. The county owes the city of Canton.
Why do we keep sending it to the county then? Why do you keep, I say the tax collector's office?
Yeah.
Why would you?
Because it was done in error. I
For how
said
many
that
years?
A few minutes ago.
How many years?
I
How many
can't
years?
tell you that.
Yeah, how many years has this been done in
Well,
error?
the agreement was in place in 2008.
Correct.
I'm afraid, I don't, as far back as I went, it had not been applied correctly, and I went back like to 2016. I think there really may not have been knowledge in the office that there was this agreement in place.
Okay, hold on one second then. We have an agreement with the other two cities.
Yes.
And that money goes directly from the tax collector to the cities.
Yes.
Okay, we have an agreement with the city of Canton from '08. And some reason or another, the tax collector sends it to the county. Okay. But did we do that this year too?
Well, likely.
I mean, something just doesn't, I mean, it's just error for what, 10, 15 years? That the city of Canton didn't get their money? I mean, and it should come straight from the tax collector's office to the city of Canton, not to the county. So.
And I'm telling you that when we ask the county to correct the error,
What year was that?
20, not more than maybe 2020.
All right, 2020.
Yeah.
But that's 1 year. I mean, the error's been going on for many years.
And I did not know it.
Okay. All right, the other is the $600,000 that we started with. So we're hearing you today say there's no money missing. Everything has worked out to where the money is there. It has been deposited, so it's zeroed out. Am I hearing you say that today? Come up to the microphone where everybody can hear.
Sure. The 600,000 I said was not missing, it was misappropriated. And I know that part of it has been recovered. I don't know yet if the tax collector's office has requested the other from the county. I think over probably 300,000 came back. I don't know if those two earlier years have been requested yet.
Who would request those?
I would request whatever I don't know how many years you go back, and Mike Espy says 3, and I think that is correct on anything that has to do with government. I
Okay.
don't know about other things. That's not my purview. But I do know that we have requested money from the county so that we could pay it to the city, absolutely giving the county the information that money was owed to the city. Then the county administrator at that time, and I'm saying that, would not pay it, or did not pay it, or did not care to pay it. I don't know, you can take your pick, but we gave the information
I
to
think
him.
there's plenty of room to point fingers here if you want to start pointing fingers.
Oh, yeah.
I believe there's
Yeah.
plenty of room.
Absolutely.
But Greg, has there been a request at this point?
I have received no request, and generally when there is an over-settlement to an entity, the correct course of action, or the course of action I have seen in the past, is you just short the next settlement by that amount. So instead of us, being the county, issuing a check to the city of Canton or any of the other cities for this money that could not be found or was misappropriated, I believe was the term that was used, whatever term you want to call it, the money we couldn't find. Generally, the course of action would have been to short the next settlement. So instead of paying us $1 million, would have paid us $400,000.
And so
Then your
we
$600,000
paid,
is
And
accounted
so
for.
we paid the city of Canton by that, what do you want to call it?
I don't know what you want to call it.
I
Beverly, come speak to us on that.
What I wanted to say is that of the $618,000 that we talked about being sent to the county instead of to the cities, $462,000 of that was withheld from settlements in fiscal year 2022. So that much has been accounted for. There's about $155,000 that goes back to 2018, 2019 that we need to correct.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's just a matter, like you say, Greg, I guess, of shorting the settlement to the county for that amount. And then those, the cities of Madison and Ridgeland have already been paid those funds. So this
So it's
money is
just
just
city
coming
of
back to
Canton.
the tax collector. It's just the city of Canton whose agreement, I think, has not been followed.
Okay, and I'm gonna follow up on Supervisor Baxter's statement that he made earlier. He mentioned $1 million, $1 million. I'm just talking about the 600,000. The discussion we're having now, does that include the other 400,000 that Supervisor Baxter mentioned?
When I heard you say $1 million, I thought that's what you were saying, that there's the 600 we knew about last month, and then there's this 400. I'm assuming that's where he got the $1 million. Once again,
Is that where you got it? Okay.
the $600,000 was a shortfall because money had been settled out twice. This $400,000 is not a shortfall. It is a case of the money being paid to the wrong entity. So, I think they're two, although they both stem from these interlocal agreements, I think they're two different things.
We just want to make sure that we get it straight now.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm really asking these questions for. And every city should receive their allotted amount of money that is due to them. And we just want to ensure that's the case.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. City of Canton, how long have we been shorting them $45,000? How many years?
The agreement originated in 2008. I think in those early years, the amount was not very large. 15,000 maybe or so in those early years. In the last, I would say maybe 5 years, 5 to 6 years, it's been about $45,000 a year.
You know, I'd like to know exactly how much they've been shorted over the period of the agreement. Our attorney said something about statute of limitations, and that sounds like lawsuit type stuff. But, you know, you don't have to adhere to the statute of limitations if between family. I mean, these are Canton taxpayer funds that should be going to the city of Canton.
That statute is related to defense of lawsuits.
Exactly.
Over a 3-year statute.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond 3 years, we can not pay. Within 3 years, if we're guilty or liable,
Right.
it's 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's lawsuit talk. But, you know, among family.
I like the way you put the family deal in there.
Among family, when family owes family, family pays family, and regardless of 3 years. So I would like to get a full accounting so we can get a full refund for the city of Canton.
Mr. Banks, I appreciate that, and I think that's what I heard this group say to me the last time I was here, and I did that. I went back to the inception, and through September of 2022. So there was another year that'll be added onto that, and the number is there's a schedule in my report of it. It's $474,000 and some change.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned 475. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, before I'm going to end up making a motion that we refund the city of Canton back in full. But you said that you gave the information to a previous county administrator in 2020. But in 2021, the procedure didn't change?
Exactly, you know what year it was, but.
Well, when did the procedure change? Are we still giving Madison County, Canton's money?
I'll have to talk to my office and find.
Okay, if you would, speak in the mic, please.
Okay. I'll have to speak to my office and get that answer for you, because I don't want to give you the wrong answer, okay? Now, I do know that when we gave the information to the county administrator, that we did short the settlement the next time and pay the city of Canton from my office. So that's why I have to say, I need to check the records.
Stephanie, did you see that in your, did you see where it was shorted?
I did not see that. It's possible that happened in, the time past September 30th of 2022, which is where I cut my work off. I do think there was a general, I don't know if there was just a lack of knowledge that there was an agreement, or whether there was a feeling that Canton may not have ever exceeded, that they may not have ever exceeded the $75,000. I'm not sure, but when I looked into the others, I asked about Canton, and that's when I was told there was an agreement, but if there had been an overage, it wasn't very significant. And then I just, dug into that a little bit.
Yeah, we went through this very heavily, I know, with the tax assessor, Norman Kennedy, I believe, here a couple of years ago. He really stayed on the board to have an agreement with the cities. And I'm really surprised that this has come up now with City of Canton, because we really focused on that a couple of years ago to make sure we had contracts up to date. And I'm really surprised that this is even being discussed.
Private business, when I look at other businesses, I like to look at bank stuff. Have you all done a reconciliation?
Yes, that's what I was talking about how that's a process that has not been done for a while. And I did that through the end of September 2022. So I brought it forward.
I'm not talking about you in particular, I'm talking about the employees inside the office or the auditors in the past. Somebody's reconciled bank statements.
At one time.
Good hope.
At one time, I had a CPA coming in to reconcile the office, the bank statement, and he worked for a good while, and then the board said that was enough, no more.
I don't know whether the board said that or not. Seem like you're
You
forgetting
just
a
have
lot
to
of
go
things
back.
nowadays.
Yeah, you just have to go back and
The statements were reconciled, what was the burden?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The last time they were reconciled, what was the burden? I mean, you have to be reconciling outside of a private audit firm. You have to have people inside your office reconciling. You can't.
Daily. I mean, this should be going on daily. I mean, you.
Well, monthly, certainly monthly. You know,
Well,
your statement comes monthly.
Well,
so.
you know, when you was here prior 2 times, you said money goes in, money goes out. That goes in and out daily.
It does.
And
Absolutely.
you gotta do that daily.
There is a balancing of the receipts that's done daily between the offices and, you know, between the bank deposits. That's done on a daily basis.
Sure.
But this end of month reconciliation is between the bank statement and a cash journal. And what I found is that the cash journal that's updated manually with, you know, deposits and refunds and settlements and things like that, the errors that occurred were in that cash journal. And, you know, they were hard to find, easy to correct, but I think there's just a general lack of understanding in that, you know, by the person responsible for the bank reconciliation on how those two should relate. And, you know, you just want to see the office run a little more like a business than it does. So, I think this is a prime time to, you know, like I said, change some procedures, get the right people in place, and move forward.
So what I'm hearing you say again, there's no money missing.
Not that I found.
Not that you found, and
I was fairly thorough. No,
Good.
I want to say I was very thorough.
okay.
I was going to ask if it would be okay with the board to have either, I mean, if she'll do it, Stephanie reconcile from the time that she has gone through now, and it wouldn't leave a lapsed place there. If she could either do it herself or maybe suggest somebody, you know, that could come in once a month to through December the 31st, when I retire. Well, no, that's wrong. It would be through the next month after I retire, because you know, the bank reconciliation goes to the 20th of the next month.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I think by far, I think this board would agree to that, because it needs to be done. But do we need to go back any further than 2016?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that things were pretty straight from that point forward until we got to 2020 or 2021.
Okay. And Kay, you're asking this board to approve Beverly or her company to continue to audit monthly through January 31st.
Yeah, or
that what you're
January the 20th, or what, you know, the settlement is the 20th of the month. So if you want somebody to go, and I'm asking to go to the end of that settlement and whatever it takes, you know, to make sure that everything is balanced.
Right.
Because I don't want the county to be in debt to anybody when they shouldn't be.
That's right.
That's right.
I would make that motion to continue to hire the firm to continue to move forward and audit through January the 31st.
I'm curious to know who inside the office is in charge of reconciling the bank statements. When she goes home, who's in charge of it from here going forward?
All of it comes back to me.
Do you want to respond?
All of it comes back to me. All of it comes back to me. I'm the tax collector. So I have bookkeepers per se, but they're, you know, she is taught by the one that was there before, and that one was taught by the one that was there before. And we have Kathy Grantham in the office that's been there for longer than I have. And so I have people that balance every day. Each one is balanced separately, like each one office is what I mean. Each office is balanced separately. That money is taken to the bank that day. Flora and Canton goes to the bank together, and Madison goes to the bank in Madison. And then it's all brought together in Bank Plus. Did that?
I think it's, I don't know whether you answered all the questions or not, but I know that over the past several years, you've been in and out, and we've had some issues in and out with the tax collector's office for many different reasons that we've resolved or try to resolve and move forward. But this board was not elected and is not elected to run the tax collector's office.
Mhm.
So we do not get in the details that I'm hearing today from Beverly
Yeah.
or Stephanie. And with that being said, you know, that doesn't belong to the Board of Supervisors. What we do is try to act on what you bring to the board.
Right.
And a lot of this other stuff I'm hearing today is actually the tax collector's responsibility.
That's
to
right.
make sure, and you just said that, it all stops with you.
It does.
And I'm hoping, and I think it's what Supervisor Baxter was saying as well, that I'm not hearing that, hey, a whole lot's changed today as far as someone being in there that's capable of balancing a daily,
That's why,
receipts.
yeah. That's
Much less
why
monthly.
I suggest that we have somebody in there who is a bookkeeper, a CPA preferably, and it doesn't mean that even a CPA is perfect, you know. But that's the reason.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah. And I asked, that's the reason I asked Stephanie to come in my office and make sure that there is no money missing. And that's what she does.
I would also ask, and I suggested this at the last time y'all came up, communicate with the new tax collector that's coming in.
We do.
I mean, let him be involved in this, where when he takes over in January, that it won't be a surprise, anything won't be a surprise to him. Just good communication. So, okay, I think
I'd like to make a motion.
I got a motion on the
We got
floor.
one going. Actually, your motion got interrupted because you didn't have a second, but
Yeah.
Mr. Steen.
I'm sorry, let's go ahead and take.
Has a motion
Yeah.
on, to hire the Grantham Pool firm to audit the tax collector's office until 12/31/23. Is that your motion?
That's it.
12/31/24.
24.
The new person will take over after that.
It'll have to go.
Well, actually, I thought it had to go to January.
Well, it was
January?
January 31st.
Yeah.
All right,
24.
31st, 24, all right?
January 1st, 24, but they don't settle till the 20th.
Chances of them being probably pretty slim. I mean, just breaking even. There's no idea. But the burden was on the tax collector, not the board. We didn't fire anybody that she asked to be hired. We would have never known this board not to hire department heads help to get things done correctly. So this doesn't reconcile. This doesn't have anything to do with us.
All in favor?
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Board,
Mr. Baxter, did you second his motion?
If I may I suggest that the approval for Ms. Smith and Grantham Pool go until January 20th of 2024 instead of January 1st. The settlement for tax collectors is not due by law until the 20th. Now, they may settle before, but that just gives her enough time to make sure that
A
everything
motion is
settled.
January 31st.
31st, okay.
Yeah, 2024. That is just to give a little extra time.
Is there a limitation or is it on the same contract you own, Gerald?
Continuation.
I just continue it on,
Okay.
on the same contract.
Same contract.
Unless we need to have a separate contract.
I do not. It's,
I just say on the same contract, because we gotta have someone in there that can audit this until the next tax collector comes in, so. Okay, got a motion on the floor, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Now, I'd like to make a motion that the Madison County Board of Supervisors completely refund to the city of Canton the tax dollars that were taken away from it through mistakes made. And that would be going all the way back past statute of limitations, because we're not talking about a suit here. We're talking about the taxpayer dollars that belong to the citizens of Canton.
Yeah. One thing I would like to ask you
We
to
have a
let me.
motion and a second.
Yeah.
Okay?
One thing that I would like to ask you to let me do is let Stephanie determine the amount that the board owes to the city of Canton.
That's part of the motion.
Okay.
And that would go back to 2008, right?
It goes back all the way.
Yeah.
Mike, legally, how does that look? Because really, do what now?
We're discussing this, the administrator and I, there's a 3-year statute of limitations on claims against the county. So if we owe something for 10 or 15 years, we get sued, if we're protected up to beyond 3 years. So we can, if we're liable, as a defense to a claim in court, that we can say, okay, we'll pay you 3 years, and beyond that, we don't have to. That's for sure. That's a statute of limitations, 3 years against a claim against the county. We have to think about this, because this could be a settlement or an agreement with the city of Canton that may go beyond that we might be able to do. I really would like to look at it. I mean, this is something that needs to be researched.
You know, we're not talking about a lawsuit here. We're talking about correcting a wrong that we determined. City of Canton hadn't determined this. We determined, we know for a fact that there's $400 and almost $75,000 that we've taken from the city of Canton. And, you know, we're trying to give it back to them because we made the mistake. They didn't make the mistake. So, you know, I don't want to look at this from a legal lawsuit type because we're not in a lawsuit. And we acknowledge that we have made the mistake. We hired the firm to take a look at the tax collector's office, and they came up with information that confirms to us that we owe the city of Canton almost $75,000.
At least.
You know, I don't know why we would do anything other than give the city of Canton what they're due. It's their taxpayers' dollars. I'm one of the taxpayers of the city of Canton, so my money.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm asking for time to research it.
We don't need to research it. I mean, it's not a legal issue. It is not a legal issue. It's a moral issue. It's a right issue. It's not a legal issue.
We have a motion on the floor, Ms. Banks.
Yeah.
I think this is between you and Mr. Espy, but I'm gonna follow our attorney advice, and I think we all agree that the city of Canton is due $475,000. It's just a matter of how you get the money to them. And I think
don't
that's what
want-
the discussion is at this point between the
I don't
board
want you
and,
to use an amount certain because,
No, we're not.
but Gerald keeps saying 475,000, and it may not be 475,000.
well, I'd use that number because the CPA used
Yeah.
that number.
Right.
And we understand it could be 474 or something. It
Yeah.
could be 473 or 476. We understand that.
And also, what I've heard Ms. Pace say is that part of it may have been recovered in the fiscal year that started in October of 2022, and I'm just not aware of that.
That's right.
What I would propose, my report will have a schedule of all the dollars going back to 2008, and then this group can certainly determine what to do with that. Is that fair?
Okay. Yes, we have a motion on the floor. All in,
I won't get the money, I just wanna make sure that it's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all we want.
Did you withdraw your second?
I don't want,
He can withdraw it, I second it.
That's right. Are you withdrawing?
are you
your second?
withdrawing your second?
yeah, I mean, I would like to just offer it to put it in SB's hands, but if y'all may withdraw, I will.
No, it's left up to you. You're the one to second it. Are you withdrawing or you keeping it?
Yeah, I'll withdraw.
Okay. Got a
Griffin does
withdrawal?
second.
Ms.
I
Bates?
second it, but,
Ms. Griffin, second the motion.
I need to know what the motion is.
The motion,
I said before, I did not.
I don't want it to go dead.
yeah, let me restate the
Man, you
motion.
could've said anything
Okay,
besides
the
that.
motion is to, and you can take this motion.
Yes,
The
sir.
motion is to refund the city of Canton all funds owed to it from the agreement of 2008 between Canton and the tax collector, where Canton had not received all of its tax dollars.
Yeah, and I second that motion.
It's simple.
Well,
So, this is complicated. Would you accept an alternative to wait for 2 weeks to the next meeting until we can really talk to the auditor, look at the law, make sure we can do this? I mean, I know the board wants to be fair with City of Canton, for sure, but you don't want to do anything that's going to haunt you down the road. So 2 weeks is what your lawyer's asking for. I hardly ever do this. This just came up. So we need to research this. And 2 weeks, I'll give you an answer.
I think that's more than fair, and I think that's where we was headed, is to give you some time to research this.
Is that a substitute motion?
First of November. I'll table it.
Okay, substitute motion, Mr. Baxter. second.
well, I think Carl got something he want to do first.
Okay, Carl.
Man, I need yours.
Yeah, he wants to make a substitute. I was getting ready to just table my motion.
Yeah, he
for
gonna
2
table
weeks.
his.
For
All
2
right,
weeks.
Trey, you got a motion, substitute motion.
Mike, what's my substitute?
He was gonna table his, so you won't need.
Yeah, I table
We
mine.
need to bring back a recommendation in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
November 1st, whenever, the next board meeting.
The motion is to bring back recommendation from the attorney within 2 weeks.
November 6th, 2023 board meeting.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
I'll second that.
And you gonna be.
Hold on 1 second, Paul. Hold on. We got a motion and we got a second for Mr. Banks. Okay, Paul?
Now, you gonna be giving Mike a number by that time
Yes,
on how much it be?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. We got a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. We're finished with this until
Thank you.
next board meeting. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Okay, we have next item number 4. Stan?
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I am Stanford Beasley with the Canton Housing Authority. I go by Stan. I want to thank you all for all of your past efforts in assisting us to provide affordable housing for the citizens of Canton as well as Madison County. Namely, the project that you all supported was Wood Creek, which is about a $14 million project we've done. The acquisition of some older multifamily properties, which we've tried to restore. We put about $4 million in those properties, and I want to thank you all in the outset. Our endeavor here today is we're asking you all to assist us in the redevelopment of the oldest affordable housing development in the city of Canton. It's about 71 years old. It's obsolete. It has terracotta pipes. The pipes underneath are all crumbling the infrastructure. We were going to try to remodel the property. It's going to cost about $25 million in this project. We're going to do the whole portfolio, which is going to be roughly around $37 to $40 million for the entire portfolio. This is something that Housing and Urban Development has been pushing for quite some time. We've got some more revenue streams that we think we found, namely under the Trump administration. We're the first entity in Madison County to utilize the Opportunity Zone. So we did do a development which you all approved to help us with, which was called Canton Mountain Rural Estates under the Opportunity Zone. We're going to try to move this project into this same type portfolio, and that came out of the Trump administration. We're very appreciative of that legislation that really helped development and spur affordable housing. What we're asking from you all today is to assist us in the project. I have before you our outline. This is a public-private partnership. We're putting in the biggest lot of the money, and we're asking that you all could use some of your ARPA funds. That is an eligible expense according to the administration for housing. We're asking for $1.5 million. You may not go that high, but whatever amount of that you can give. But if we get 71 more years out of this property, we think we can do really well. We want to tear the property completely down and reconstruct it. What we think will happen, it will increase the property values in that area, so the citizens would have an increased property values. We think it will spur development for that area as well, because we're going to put new structures. They're going to be nice structures. We're going to enlarge the structures. We have 4 bedrooms with 1 bathroom, which is kind of obsolete today. When you got kids trying to get ready for school, that's a lot. We don't have any closet spaces. They don't have any central heat and air right now. We have central heat, but no central air. So all the new properties will be accommodated by central heat and air. And so this is our request to you all, and I will open up for any questions. I see we have a 2-minute limit. I want to be very brief. I know you guys have been here for quite some time.
All right, discussion?
How many units are there right now?
It's 130 units on that footprint right now. We're going to reduce the density so it won't be so dense, and we're going to put 100 units back on that footprint, and we're going to move the other 30 families and join them with the other units that we have, which is 20 units on the east side of Canton. And so we're going to redevelop all of them, but right now, as I said earlier, it's pricing out about $37.5 to $40 million for the total project. This project now currently is roughly around $25 million for this particular project.
You're requesting from us $1.5 million.
That would help us
that could
move
come out
along.
of ARPA.
If you have available in your ARPA fund. ARPA is an eligible expense, or some variation of that.
Okay.
How much ARPA money do we get? Where is it allocated currently?
All right, we've got 20.6 million in total. I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, so I'm probably going to have to use some round numbers. We've got originally allocated $10 million to broadband. We, or Comcast on our behalf as the ISP, applied for the grant through the state, which would pitch in $5 million, so that would cut the broadband expense down to approximately $5 million. We've got $5 million on Bozeman Road. Someone brought me a spreadsheet. Fantastic. $2 million to the city of Ridgeland for the MCWI project, $2 million to the wastewater authority as part of the MCWI project they're doing, and then $200,000 for the CDBG match. And we've got another, we'll call it $150 on EWP projects. Everything in, we're looking at $1.3 million unallocated. That's if we were to spend the full $10 million on broadband. Get the grant from the state puts in 4.9 or 5 million towards the broadband, that would leave us 6.3 million unallocated as a round number.
How much do we have unallocated now?
If the
Not
4
even-
million went to the broadband, you got 1.3 million.
1.3.
1.3?
1.3.
And that includes everything you just named off then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we not have it, do we not have monies allocated to the, over around Kearney Park?
The wastewater.
Yes.
I
That
think
is 200,000 for the CDBG match.
Right.
That is all I am aware
I
of.
thought we allocated some more over there.
The other part of it may be 2 million for the wastewater authority.
No,
No.
yeah, I remember that.
Mhm.
But I didn't know whether, didn't we have some other monies dedicated to
We
help?
were waiting on, well, I guess we were waiting, we knew we had the match money to come up with. We were also waiting to see what Corps of Engineers came up with so
Right.
we could add to it.
Okay.
But we were thinking we were gonna probably need about $1 million over there at least.
Right.
Yeah. Well, here's my thought. We don't know what broadband money gonna be yet. And some of the other projects. I'm gonna put that in the form of motion that we take it under advisement. And as we go forward, spending ARPA money, we can have this as one of our priorities.
Run the projects.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Supervisor Banks?
Need to have it listed as a priority unfunded right now though, Greg. And then when we see what's going on with broadband, then we can plug it in.
We can certainly add it to the projects that we consider, yes, sir.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. Do I have all in favor say aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, stay.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy.
The sign actually came prepared with that spreadsheet I got to hand off. I thought about taking credit for it, but just doesn't seem
Good
like the right
timing.
thing to do. Item number 5 on the agenda, we need a motion to enter a public hearing, please.
Got a motion for public hearing?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
This pertains to an increase in assessment on a business or personal property account. The business name is Waxing the City, and it's PIN number 13212. And unless someone is here to speak on this matter, I ask the board to close the public hearing and approve this increase in assessment.
Do we have anyone that'd like to speak on the matter?
I would like to point out they have been properly noticed.
Okay. No one here to speak on this matter, so do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Motion Supervisor
Second.
Baxter, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Okay.
Vote on it.
Do we not need a motion to increase this property?
Yeah.
Got a motion Supervisor Banks.
So,
I'll second. Discussion. All in favor say aye. All opposed? All right, thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Consent items. Any items on the consent that anyone would like to remove?
Okay, all right.
If not, do I have a motion for approval? Motion Supervisor Baxter, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, next we have the, which is under my name, which it could be under the Board of Supervisors' name, but that's fine, is Woodgate subdivision discussion. At the last meeting, we had a little discussion, and I asked for the developers to come, along with a representative from D.R. Horton, along with the constituents, and just kind of lay this out to where we are and where it's going. And so just to have a little structure with this, I would like for planning and zoning attorney and the department head, Scott, to come up and give us a minute or two, just how did it come in front of the board? And then I would like for Tim, our county engineer, to come up after them And I guess Mike's want to be first.
No.
Okay.
For one reason. We're about to start this discussion. I'm looking over, I see a stenographer.
Okay.
So that's fine, but I want to let the board know, the board did not invite or hire the stenographer. So I'll assume it's from one of the parties. I assume it's from the Developers Council.
That's right.
All right, so there's a lot of inferences. As your lawyer, I just want to let you know that whatever you say is going to be, your words will be taken down. It may be for litigation, it may not be, because we speak through our minutes, but she's starting to type. So whatever you say, whatever you talk about, the question you ask, they will all be maybe in a circuit court. So I just want to let you know.
Thank you, Mike. Andy, if you would, just a minute and a half or two, how it came in front of the planning and
Yes,
zoning.
sir. Really just a little bit of history here from me. And as you said, we're here today on the preliminary plat for Woodgate subdivision. And I'll just give a little brief overview of that from the stance of planning and zoning. MS Homes LLC presented a preliminary plat to zoning administrator Scott Weeks sometime January, February this year. That preliminary plat concerned property that's in Supervisor District 5, is zoned R2 medium density residential district, showed a total of, I believe, 379 proposed lots on 162.12 acres. Really quick, I'm just going to hand out a copy of that was presented. Make sure y'all got that. Be careful. Preliminary plats, just in general, those are not subject to review by the full body of the Planning and Zoning Commission, but rather when a developer submits a preliminary plat on raw land with no infrastructure on that raw land, that preliminary plat is reviewed by the zoning administrator to ensure compliance with the zoning ordinance and the underlying zoning designation, particularly with regard to setbacks, lot densities, and lot sizes. The preliminary plat for Woodgate met those requirements of the ordinance and the underlying R2 zoning district. And so Mr. Weeks brought that preliminary plat before you all, the Board of Supervisors, on March the 6th of 2023, where it was approved with a 5-0 vote. So the next step for a developer following approval of their preliminary plat would be submission of construction plans to the county that would show specifics as to their elevations, particular location of infrastructure, utility placement, et cetera. Those plans are then reviewed or following that point are reviewed by the county engineer. Once those are approved, the developer can start their construction of their infrastructure, start putting in streets, utilities, water lines, that type of thing. Then once that phase is complete, the developer would then submit, and they are not at this point yet, I'm just trying to give you an overview, would submit a final plat to be reviewed by the zoning administrator and the county engineer, which is essentially an as-built picture of the subdivision. Once that final plat's approved, the developer can start selling lots and construction of homes can begin. So that's the process for plat approval. It's my understanding following the March 6, 2023 approval of that preliminary plat, the Woodgate developer proceeded with some preliminary clearing of the property and began work on their construction plans. May or may not have been submitted by Tim. He can answer that, but from a planning and zoning perspective, that's where this matter is today. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of you guys may have of me now or later.
All right, we'll probably have you come up later, but we just wanted to see how we got here.
Yes, sir.
More. Scott, if you would, you have one thing I think you want to introduce a couple of folks.
Yes, my two inspectors who do residential and commercial
Construction are here. John Noble and Jeff Williamson, present in the back of the room.
Okay, that's the two inspectors for the county.
Yes.
Okay.
I have three, but they do the residential
Okay.
construction.
Appreciate you asking them to come in because, this has been a discussion for several months. And we just want everyone to take it or realize, where we are and where we're going with this.
Yes.
So appreciate them coming in as well and appreciate them staying and listening for the discussion as well. Tim, I think you had,
Thank you.
thank you, Scott. Tim, I think you had one person you brought in as well.
I do. I wanted to introduce one of our two construction inspectors, Shelton Marbury. He's our lead construction inspector, Shelton, and one other guy, Webb Bozeman. They go out and they make sure that the developers put in the infrastructure that we approve to the satisfaction of the county to make sure it's put in properly according to our ordinances. So
Okay.
we do have people that monitor the the installation of these.
Okay,
subdivisions.
thank you. There'll be some questions, I'm sure, at the end for you as well. And Shelton, we appreciate you being here as well. Mike, I think you was going to kind of bring us up where we are today.
Yes, I'll be very brief. Before I speak, yesterday I received a letter from Mr. David Humphreys, who represents the two developers. It's dated October 15th. David Humphreys to me from the Carson Law Group. I'd like to enter this letter into the record.
Do you have copies for the board? Could you make copies if not?
I don't have copies, no.
Okay, thank you.
And it was written yesterday. I saw it last night, so
Okay.
I brought it. So for purpose of this discussion, I want to give you just some guidance for your questions or your conclusions. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know what motions the board might make, but in consideration of what might happen, I want to give you just some guidance. In 3 areas, 3 R's: rezoning, reliance, and rescission. So on rezoning, you've already heard from Andy that this is not a rezoning. This is not a rezoning. The preliminary plat that's been approved was approved for R2, which is medium density. So usually at this board, when matters come up from the zoning commission, they involve rezoning. And so you can talk about changing character of the neighborhood, you can talk about public benefit and all of that. Those considerations are not pertinent for this because this development to be is zone R2, which is already there, and nobody's asking for any rezoning. So any considerations about changing character of the neighborhood, they're not pertinent because this is R2, not a rezoning. So that's rezoning. Also, reliance, the second R. So the board these are the minutes of the board meeting on March the 6th, 2023. And on page 6 of 14, this matter came up. And it says, at the request of zoning administrator Scott Weeks, Mr. Griffin did offer, and Ms. Jones did second, a motion to approve a preliminary plat of Woodgate subdivision at Yandell Road in North Old Canton, and the vote was unanimous. So the board voted on this matter in March and gave authority for the developer to proceed on this project. And so reliance is a matter of legal guidance. So you gave approval, the board unanimously gave approval on March 6th for this Woodgate subdivision to begin. And I assume the lawyers will come and talk about what their client spent relying on the authorization and approval of this board. They had to make contracts, they had to spend money, they had to cut timber. I don't know how much, but there would be a measure of damages if this thing ever ends up in court, I'm sure. So the approval was given on March 6th, and the developers relied on this approval to do what they've done to date, whatever that is. And then thirdly, rescission. In response to a question asked of me 2 weeks ago about whether the board could do this, the answer is yes. The board could rescind the preliminary plat. It's within your authority to do it. But anyone who is aggrieved from an order or an action of this board, they've got 10 days to appeal to the circuit court. I assume that might be why the stenographer is here today. So I don't know what you want to do. But rescission is something you could do, but for every action, there's a reaction, and there are consequences. So I talked about the measure of damages could be what the developer has sunk into investment in this project based on what the authority you've given them. And when it gets to a court, there's a legal standard. So the court, the circuit court, is obliged to defer to the reasonable decisions of the government, usually, unless it's arbitrary and capricious. So arbitrary and capricious basically means, did you do something that caused the aggrieved party to believe that they have been treated differently than someone else, whether it's in person, an entity, a developer, or did the decision you make mean that you treated them differently than someone else? If they can come in and prove that the residents or whoever against this project that the standards have been violated, well, that's why we have inspectors. They haven't built any houses yet. So if the issue is about D.R. Horton homes or whatever, then that's in the future because there have been no homes built yet. In our zoning, our R2 zoning, medium density, we don't regulate for home sizes. We regulate for lot sizes and height restrictions. So that's within our regulations. We don't, in our zoning manual, as it's currently promulgated, we don't do that. Now, Madison County is growing, and we have growing pains in the future. You might want to consider that, but that's a zoning change. That's going to take a notice and a hearing and a lot more time. Also, in rescission, anything you do there, you have to consider what's arbitrary and capricious, meaning are you treating them differently than anyone else? Why are you doing that? And whether that's reasonable to do. If there's a moratorium on development in Yandere Road, meaning no one can build anything ever until traffic gets better or things get sorted out or the school comes, that's for the future. This particular project would be grandfathered in because they already received their preliminary plat. So those are the three considerations: rezoning, rescission, and reliance. Thank you.
Are there any questions to Mike? I know Mike said a lot there, just to bring us up from the board.
Mike, tell me about the our ability to regulate how these lease versus buy. How can we regulate that these people buy these homes and not lease them or rent them?
The covenants, so that's a lot. So if you want to impose a restriction on non-ownership, you could try to do this. That may aggrieve the developer because they have certain return on their investments that they would have to consider. If you try to impose these restrictive standards on them, they're going to ask, did you do it to anyone else? And why are you only doing it to us? There are equitable considerations, there are civil rights considerations. If we try to restrict percentage of leasing, Mr. Baxter, we could try to negotiate those kind of things with the developer, but I believe if we just come today and say no, 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 that might be considered as arbitrary, because you're only doing it to them. So I'd say that could be considered, I don't want to make a conclusion, because we're on the record and nobody has sued us, and I don't want to do that on the record. But I'm just saying, you have to consider, if you're imposing a standard on this project that you have not imposed previously. And also within this area, are there other developments that allow non-owners?
See, inside these municipalities, when you lease homes, they have extreme requirements as far as keeping the homes up, especially in Madison and Ridgeland.
Yes.
But the county's not really set up for that.
Which is why I said earlier that we're growing so fast in Madison County for good reason. People want to come here and live. And so it's a blessing that we are such, we've seen such growth, but there are also problems. I think this board would be well served in 2024 when the new board comes in to establish some sort of an ordinance review committee. And then you can take up these issues. Do you want to have a moratorium on building? Is that within a zone that is experiencing high growth and not the rural area where Mr. Griffin lives? You could look at all of those kind of things. You could talk about, you could create a procedure that doesn't violate standards of rights for non-owners to live. You might be able to put this in that could survive litigation.
Mike, I think it'd be good at this point because, we're speculating on a lot of things at this
Yes.
point.
Well, I'm trying to answer the question.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm sure we're all appreciative of that, but I think it's time to get the developers up.
Okay.
And we have a representative from D.R. Horton, have them come up, listen to the constituents, people that live there, and then we can come back and maybe address a lot of these questions. So I'm assuming the developers, will y'all please stand up and let everybody see y'all? And come up and introduce yourself. And introduce this fellow here that's handed us something.
Sure, absolutely. Good morning.
Come to the microphone and speak.
Yeah, I'm
real
Carl
clear.
Sandberg, 129 Edinburgh Bend, Madison. Home builder, developer, been in Madison for a good while.
Nick Gillette, 212 Cottage Brook Circle, Madison, Mississippi. Home builder, developer as well. Carl and I are both on the Home Builders Association boards. Carl's actually the president. I'm the vice president-elect of the local board as well.
Okay. And before y'all two back off, come on back up, Carl. There's not time to be shy. Hey, you on the spotlight today. You two are the two developers of this project.
Correct.
The only two developers.
Correct.
Is this the first project that you developed, or have y'all been involved in other developments as far as developing in Madison County?
This is the first development in Madison County.
In Madison County that y'all have done?
Correct.
Okay. And there's no one else involved but you two as far as developers?
Yeah, we have a third partner. He's an investor.
Okay.
I'm
All
sorry?
right, is that third partner here today?
He is not here.
Okay.
He was here previously.
Yeah.
I have a question. Where do you two, what neighborhoods do you two live in Madison County?
Knightsbridge.
Reunion.
Nick, where do you live?
Knightsbridge.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the developers at this point? Okay, and I guess this gentleman
Yeah,
here,
this is-
y'all brought him with you?
Yeah,
and-
David Humphreys are representing us in this matter and has a lot of information for you guys today for us.
Okay. I guess y'all want to turn it over to Mr. Humphreys then?
That's right. I'm David Humphreys. I'm with the Carson Law Group, and I represent the Woodgate Developers LLC, who are, you've just met two of their three principals. We are here today at the board's request from the last meeting that the developers be here and that D.R. Horton representatives be here. So we're here at the board's request and at your pleasure for whatever information you need from us today. Nick and Carl just gave, a little bit of their background. They're both experienced builders in this area. Nick has been building in Madison and Rankin counties for 10-plus years. He lives in Madison, as he said. His kids go to MRA. He goes to church at Pine Lake. Carl has been a home builder for 12-plus years. Carl resides in Reunion. Kids go to Canton Academy and Madison Public Schools. And he's a member at the Grace Crossing Church on Yandell Road. Both serve on the local Jackson area home builders associations, and Carl is currently serving as the president of the Mississippi Home Builders Association. So these are well-known residential construction guys and leaders in the community and even in the state. And, we also want to correct, some misrepresentations or misunderstandings that are out there. This Woodgate subdivision, these guys want this to be one of the nicest, if not the nicest, new subdivision in that area. And I've handed out a packet before we began speaking, and it's got some of the, planned amenities and things, renderings and things that they have planned for the subdivision, and you can see that it's top quality, and they're going to spend a lot of money on the amenities of the subdivision. I believe they currently have planned to spend $750,000 to $1 million on the public amenities of the subdivision. There's going to be, the subdivision will have a mixture of home sizes. I believe there's a rendering in the packet there that range from a minimum of 1,500 square feet up to homes 2,200 square feet or larger. You can see on the color-coded diagram there, or plat, that there'll be a mixture of minimums within the subdivision. So it won't be every house, every lot will be subject to a 1,500 minimum. There'll be a mixture of different size minimums throughout the subdivision. They'll have a strict, enforceable set of covenants that of course, are intended to keep up property values and will be enforceable by the homeowners association. Despite the rumors, there will be no build-to-lease homes. There will be no Section 8 homes, so we don't really know where that rumor came from, but let's just clear that up today. You see in the packet, there's a super nice entrance planned, a pool, a clubhouse, a pool pavilion, and I would submit that that amenity package that these guys have planned is nicer than anything else, any of the other new subdivisions that are going up or have been approved out there. In addition, Nick and Carl are experienced home builders, but they're also becoming involved in more and more developments here in Madison County, and I know in Ridgeland they've got some things going on, and so they are just getting into the development business. Now, Mike Espy covered a lot of what I have here in the rest of my notes. I will attempt to hit the highlights. The board did approve their preliminary plat by a 5-0 unanimous vote on March 6, 2023. They have spent, based on that approval, in reliance on that approval, they've spent $4 million on this property, and they have spent another $200,000 plus since then in engineering cost, traffic studies requested by the engineering department here, other soft costs, plans, and clearing and timber removal. Also, it's important to mention that their lender, their bank relied on this board's approval, their preliminary plat, to give them the lending to proceed and to spend these costs. So there's a bank that has also relied on the board's approval of the subdivision. Most of those development costs and interest on their loans and things, they're lost if they don't proceed to complete the development. They're non-recoverable. And, you know, they're here, again, to assure the board that the Woodgate subdivision will meet or exceed all of the county's building standards. And again, they're planning one of the nicest subdivisions in the area. Nick and Carl have done everything required by the zoning ordinance and the county subdivision regulations, and I don't think anybody has suggested that they haven't. They've also worked, as many of you are aware, with the board and with the engineering department throughout the summer since their approval to incorporate suggested changes and into their plans. And I think have been very willing to work with the board along the way through that. The homes in the subdivision will be built by licensed home builders, including D.R. Horton, and they'll use, you know, again, to refute some of the rumors out there, they'll be using the subcontractors and material vendors and that every other builder uses, local subs and local material suppliers and local realtors and all of that. And then as Andy mentioned, I believe that, you know, the county, through its building inspection department, will have every opportunity to inspect and approve the construction of the Woodgate homes and the amenities that are planned out there for compliance with their Madison County's building codes and other standards. So accordingly, we would submit that the board should allow these developers to continue with their development, which was approved and in a properly zoned area, and that, again, any rescission by the board of their approval we submit would be illegal, arbitrary, and capricious. And Mike mentioned a letter that I wrote and sent to the attorneys, Mike and Andy, last evening that goes into some of the legal aspects of what a rescission might mean and what a requirement on the rental, on no rentals might mean. So I believe he has asked that be submitted to the record. I don't know if that needs a
It
motion.
has not, but we will as soon as you finish here.
Okay.
We'll get a motion for that.
All right, and with that, I would turn it over to the D.R. Horton guys to say whatever they want to say or take any questions that you may have at this
Yeah,
time.
I would like to hold off on the D.R. Horton at this point. And first of all, I'd like to have a motion for this to be entered into the minutes, the letter that you received, you gave to Mr. Espy. Got a motion, Mr. Banks, second, Mr. Griffin, but I do see an error in your letter.
Okay.
It's just the date. I think you've got 2003, March 6, 2003.
Okay.
Is that?
It's March 6, 2023, when the preliminary plat was approved by the board.
Yeah.
Are you asking the board then to make that change for this letter, or
That's
does
fine.
it really matter?
I apologize about that.
That's okay. But
I
I've got a motion.
didn't have my assistant
Make that
yesterday
motion with
evening when I was
date
finishing
correction.
With the
to
date
read and
correction,
correct all my normal mistakes.
You're okay with the date correction,
Yes,
though?
I am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I got a motion on the floor. Got a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Ronnie, you have a copy of this letter? But
Yeah.
looks like it. Yes. We're going to say yes. Okay. At this point, are there any questions to Mr. Humphreys from the board?
So wait, what you said there was something in here about if we were to oppose rentals, that would be arbitrary and capricious?
Yeah, there's 7 pages of that letter that discuss that, and I'm happy to go through point by point if you want to. They're legal issues that I wouldn't presume to advise you on because you have plenty of good attorneys for that, but I'm happy to go through those if you want me to.
Supervisor?
Our attorney.
Okay, I would like for the developers to come back up. Second. This may be a couple of three questions. A lot of discussion over this subdivision, a lot, since the last 3 or 4 months. I would like to ask each one of you, what is your definition of a quality home?
A home built to and several aspects, above the minimum standard, which would be a code, with architectural controls in place for the subdivision, architectural review process as well, that passes all of the regulatory standards and all the inspections and passes a final inspection and receives a certificate of occupancy.
So would it be fair to say what you just said would be to meet the standard of the county and not necessarily any further? Would that be fair to say what you just said? Or
I
would
would
it not
agree.
be?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement, that if it's permitted here and held to the standard of Madison County, which is one of the toughest we build all over, then it's a quality home.
Carl, what is your definition then of a quality home?
What I just said, that if it's permitted here and it passes all the inspections of this jurisdiction, and it's one of the toughest that we build all over, then at the end of the day, when you get a certificate of occupancy, it's a quality home.
What about the amenities? Each one of y'all, can you speak on the amenities that a home may have that y'all build, or you expect for it to be built in the subdivision?
You talking about the home or the amenities in the subdivision?
The home. I mean, what would you put in? Let me ask this way then. Who in your company is the architect review committee? Or do you have an architect review committee? Who would sign off on the homes before they're permitted?
In Woodgate?
Yes,
We
Woodgate
will.
only. We're talking about Woodgate only now.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, we will.
When you say we, you talking about who?
Nick and I will.
Y'all will sign off on each home?
Yes.
When you sign off on each home, what are you looking for?
That it meets the standards that we've wanted it to be. They've submitted renderings to us. We have some architectural controls in there about it being 3/4 brick, architectural shingles, 2-car garage, that sort of thing.
And I see, and you handed out a plat, which I appreciate it, because this is one thing we've been asking for a few months. And I see that you have it broken down 15, 18, 2,000 square feet. And when you say 1,500, which you have them highlighted, colored in here, 1,500 square feet, are you saying they're from 15 to 1,800?
Correct.
And then the ones at 18 is 18 to 2,000, and then the one from 2,000 is from 2,000 to what?
Plus.
Yeah, 2,000 plus. It could be 2,200, 2,300.
So the most likely the most square footage in that subdivision would be 2,300?
That's a
More
fair
than likely.
assessment. Yes, sir. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, okay. And I'm looking, and I'm seeing here is that it looks like it's 60% from 1,500 to 1,800 square foot, the lots, or the homes.
Yeah, I'd say on our proposal, that's the proposed square foot, that's about right. I don't know the exact average.
No, I don't either, and I'm just looking at the color here. So I'd be pretty close that 60% is gonna be built from 1,500 to 1,800 square foot. And I'm not holding you to it because, you said you didn't.
Yeah.
And it looks like from 1,800 is, I don't know, maybe what, 15%? I guess maybe the other may be 20/20 then. From 18 to 2,000 and then 20% from 2,000 to 2,300.
Yeah, but pretty even split there.
Okay. But again, I want to go back, and I'm going to ask the representatives of D.R. Horton as well, a quality home. I would like for y'all to expound a little bit more on that. I mean, because what you've given me is, or what you've given us is, the county standards are this.
Yeah. Well, for instance, county standards don't, you can have all vinyl siding house and meet the county standards. So we're going above county standards and saying, you know, that we'll have, I think we put in proposed covenants, 2/3 brick, you know, so going above that, having at least a 2-car enclosed garage versus open carport or street parking. So I feel like we're definitely holding a standard for quality homes that meet or exceed, you know, what is being built in the neighboring communities, the neighboring developments.
Yeah, because I know many of the subdivisions, and the reason we're asking this is many of the subdivisions, they really go over and above the county ordinances. I mean, they put in a lot of amenities that maybe is not required to be put in, and they go over and above, and which is we're very grateful and thankful for that, because that's what makes our county property values increase.
Yeah.
One of the things.
And a lot of the things that we've kind of done, like you said, above and beyond have been from our meetings, you know, our discussions with you guys, with suggestions, hey, you know, raise your square foot minimum from this to this, you know, add the brick enclosed carport. So we've really tried to be accommodating, you know, to the needs that you guys have had.
And I think Mr. Humphreys mentioned no build to lease.
Correct.
That's in the HOA covenants?
Correct.
Well, we can add it to it, but it's not a build to rent. This is not a build to rent.
Okay, and explain that a little more in detail. When you say no build to rent, in other words, there be no rental property there?
No, that's not to say that there will not be rental property there.
Okay,
It will not be a build to rent. In other words, the whole community is built and sold to a firm or build to rent, or advertised build to rent. We're talking about the end user having the option, which David got into in the letter, that those restrictions, that's the one we're talking about. But this is not D.R. Horton is not coming in here and building a bunch of homes to turn and sell to somebody that's just going to rent them. That's what we mean by build to rent.
And I know you referred to David, just, you know, it's in the letter. Guys, we just got this letter this morning.
Yeah.
So when you say that, you know, it's in David's letter, it probably is, but we just got it this morning. So we're not sure what's all in that letter at this point. And that's the reason that we're, you know, that I'm asking these questions. Because you two are the developers, and this is the first development that y'all have in Madison County. Correct. Even though y'all have built in Madison County as well. So we want to hear from you. And also I hear that, well, before I get off on that, I want you to explain a little bit more, no build to lease. I'm not sure I understand what you just said.
I'm not.
Explain it. Yeah,
So-
no,
so-
I'm
so,
talking to the developers at this time, David, if you will. Just let them-
a BTR, a build-to-rent neighborhood, is a development that's built to be a rental neighborhood. That is not what this is. This is a neighborhood being built to sell homes to homeowners.
Okay, so each home that's built, there will be a homeowner.
Yeah, that is
From the very beginning.
That's the intent.
That's the
Yes, it is
intent
a
of our
build-to-sell.
development, built to sell to homeowners, correct. So where we get into the challenges of, and it's in the letter, but, and I'd rather the lawyer speak this, but essentially, we don't want to do anything that is illegal from a fair housing standpoint, or, you know, could be considered prejudice against any class of individuals. So completely blocking or restricting rentals from all of the case law that we've seen is an illegal act. And not only that, but it also, and I know we've been asked for this, but it's actually in this letter showing the laws that go against FHA and VA mortgagees do not qualify if you have those. And I know there are subdivisions out there that do have, you know, hardcore restrictions. They've just not been challenged to this point. Because they did it doesn't mean it's correct or legal. So we just don't want to do anything illegal with this development.
We'll never ask you to do anything illegal, but you just mentioned we do have HOA covenants, or there's some out there, not we, the county, but the developers have HOA covenants that says no, you know, no lease.
We have been unable to find any. We looked at every subdivision up and down Yandell Road, and I only found 3 subdivisions, 4, that have anything about rentals at all. None of them prohibit at all. None of them do. They have 6-month requirements or applied to the board, and you have to pay a $250 fee and have to have no violations, that sort of thing. But there's not a single subdivision. The majority up and down Yandell Road have no writings at all about rentals.
If we show you a subdivision or 2 or 3 that has that in their HOA covenants, would you be interested in putting it in this one?
No, because if they did it and they haven't been challenged, it doesn't mean it's legal that someone else has done it. Now, again, like I said, with restrictions like we're talking about here, we're not, this is not a build-to-rent community. So we're not trying to develop a neighborhood that is a rental community. This is a build-to-sell community.
And how long were these covenants for?
I mean, they would endure the I don't know. That's a technical question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Guys,
assume they would.
when you say it's a technical question, it's really not.
Well, they
You
would
are
be-
the developers.
yeah, they
You
would
should
be-
know that.
Yeah, they would be recorded and be for the life of the subdivision.
The life of the subdivision?
Yes.
50 years? Ever what the life is?
Yeah, I mean, it's
There-
a legal recorded
It's a
document.
publicly recorded document.
David, we're going to let you clear this up here in a minute. I just wanted to hear from the developers to see how they answer these questions. And this really kind of tells me, man, y'all are totally in tune and y'all know 100% what's going on. You know, because these are some of the questions that y'all should be able to I think, answer, you know, pretty easy.
Yeah, well, covenants are legally recorded to go in the record for that subdivision.
Who made those covenants?
Our attorney.
Closing attorney.
Did y'all not have any input? Or did y'all have input?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay. So I would think y'all would know how long these covenants would last. And of course, you did answer. You did answer it'd last forever, as long as the subdivision was there. So y'all did answer that. So it's not a 15-year plus another 10 years or 20
No,
years
there's no
plus another
expiration.
5.
Correct.
Okay. And you said builders earlier, I think. One of y'all said builders. Is it just one builder is going to be there, or is it going to be several builders?
It will be D.R. Horton.
So it's just one builder?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Are there other questions for the,
I have a question. Do you have any idea how many houses are going to be built?
Yeah, it's, I don't know the exact number. I think it's 370, 379.
On Yandell, is there room for that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a plat showing that many lots.
She means traffic.
Yeah.
Did you get the traffic
How
study
do you
back?
get the traffic up and
Yeah,
down
yeah,
that road? It's a
y'all have the
2-lane
traffic
road.
study.
I think we do have a traffic study. We're going to ask the engineer to come up at the.
Okay, because that's a 2-lane road.
Mm-hmm. So,
Oh, did you said there is no rentals in the covenants or isn't?
Can
The
you
what?
rent or not?
Yeah, we cannot legally fully restrict rentals.
even though there's some covenants in Madison County that restricts no rental.
Yeah, I mean, if you know,
We have HOA covenants is what I meant to say.
Yeah, so if another neighborhood's HOA covenants do something illegal, it doesn't mean that we're going to do that. And if, they just have not been challenged at this point.
By far and away, the majority do not, including the recently approved subdivisions just past us.
Tell me again how many houses you'd like to build?
The preliminary plat approved was 379 lots.
Where are you gonna put that on Yandell?
At the proposed site.
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't guess do I have that?
So in this category of home with D.R. Horton, is this the, what are they, there's a name for it, I looked it up. It's a starter home, more or less, that y'all are building, correct?
And DR's here to answer more of your questions about their homes.
What type of financing customarily offered in this level of home to, I mean, are these people normally go to a bank, or is DR offering financing? How does this work?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna let DR answer that on their financing side.
Okay. David, at this point, would you like to clear up anything that was mentioned in the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, on restrictive covenants, they run with the land, so they're forever unless changed by whatever means is in the covenants to change them. So they're forever. I guess you could maybe put a clause in there where they ended at some point, but I'm not aware of that.
But there's not a clause in this covenant.
No, there's
The
not.
HOA covenant.
There's not. And then on the lending that you asked about, what we've been talking about is in the federal lending regulations, which is discussed on, beginning on page 5 of the letter down at the bottom, Roman numeral 4, FHA and VA regs, veterans-backed home loan regulations prevent legal restrictions on conveyance, or they make properties that have legal restrictions on conveyance ineligible for FHA insured and veterans insured loans. So the definition in the regs for legal restrictions on conveyance is on the next page, and it includes, very expressly, declaration of covenants, including a lease, if that can be made void or voidable by a third party. So that clearly covers, absolute restrictions on leases. You would eliminate anybody that wants to get an FHA back loan, and you'd eliminate a bunch of veterans who would want to get loans to buy homes in that neighborhood.
Well, you live in Reunion, correct?
I do live in Reunion.
We restrict leasing inside Reunion.
We do not prohibit leasing. We have a process where leases are approved, and I think there's some stipulations put on them about length of lease. I hadn't reviewed those covenants in a long time. But
Why don't we review those, put the brakes on this, review those, and slap those on this neighborhood? If we're doing it at Reunion, we can do it here.
I think that these guys are perfectly willing to take a suggested covenant. They've been asking for that. I know. I've been in those conversations. If you guys want to propose some covenant that they adopt, we'll take it and consider it, and most likely incorporate it if it's not an absolute, illegal restriction that would prevent the banks from writing FHA-backed loans. And
I think we can help out there.
Okay.
I think we can help out.
I moved to Reunion. You guys moved to Reunion. We restrict leases, but y'all want to build a neighborhood over here beside these people that doesn't restrict leases. I mean, come on. Let's give it a shot.
I think we can, I agree. I think we can come up with a couple of 3 HOA covenants.
Okay.
And Reunion may be one of them. I'm in favor of looking at that one. But there's another 1 or 2 out there that we probably need to look at that would enhance both the development and the surrounding property values.
Like I said, I think these guys would be willing to look at that. I think that we would also, though, ask you if you're requiring that of every other developer in the area. So I know you approved 2 subdivisions last week with no discussion, and I didn't hear any discussions of rental restrictions with those 2.
Right.
We did, and I'm kind of disappointed at the developers coming before us when we had discussed there would be no rental in there. So let's make sure we're on the right page when we come before this board again. You're gonna lose my support. Nick, it came out of your mouth, no rental. When we got here, you in crawfish. We discussed putting in no rental, but subject to be changed by the HMO. That HOA. So that's something that I could have lived with, because once you got a whole group of houses out there and people living in, they were gonna change what they wanted, and they live out there.
Yeah, and Paul, we submitted y'all a draft covenants, and it does have what you and I discussed in the draft covenants. It does not prohibit leasing, period. So, and that's I think we submitted that to y'all last week. a draft of covenants. And again, it's what we're trying to avoid, and what we've had, discussions with you, is doing something illegal or something that eliminates FHA or a veteran from being able to get a mortgage. So again, we're not opposed to.
You should have let me know instead of bringing me a letter the day of, right at the time of the meeting.
Well, and again, he's been researching this for us and just got this information, all the case law on this as well.
We've been asking for that for a long time. Where's that in writing that you're saying that no rent gonna violate VA or FHA? Where is that on legal law? And we got it day of the meeting. So I don't deal with that putting things in front of me the day of the meeting, especially something that is this important.
Guys, I think this board is definitely in favor of growth. We just want good
And I
growth.
still am, but don't try to jerk me around now.
Yeah.
Just bring it straight of what you said. And I can go back in my email and find that email.
Yeah, and like I said, we have presented you guys with a draft covenants last week at y'all's request. And it does have rental language in there. We just cannot, and we've had the stance the whole time, we cannot just fully block rentals because it's an illegal action.
I think that, I think you were open for us to look at a couple of HOA covenants that's in place now in Madison County to give to y'all, and y'all look at it very seriously and bring something back to the board in 2 weeks to really consider maybe adopting, something that we all can agree upon. And again, one thing
And that would be a countywide adoption.
One thing for sure is the supervisors, and I want to make this very clear, we do not enforce HOA covenants.
That's right, we don't.
I mean, we do not enforce HOA covenants at all. And so legally, my understanding is we cannot. So I just want to make that clear as well. All right, other questions? And yes, and if you mentioned countywide, yes, I would be very much in favor, and I think this board would be in favor of looking at it from a county standpoint. Yes.
All right, thank you.
David, anything else you'd like to clear up?
I don't. I think, in the letter it goes through a lot of issues, not just the lending issue. Countywide decisions on, they should be made I would submit in zoning and in subdivision regulations and not picking out one builder along the way somewhere and, we gotta implement a bunch of changes here. They'll obviously follow any valid enacted zoning and subdivision regulations like anybody else, but they need to be on the same playing field as everyone else.
Right.
That's all.
Greg, I know we're the county, or mine, but the cities require people that own leased homes to pay a fee to the city, to pay inspectors. So when people move out of the leased home, they're all torn up. The new person that comes in doesn't have to move into a torn-up house, the inspector goes in and fixes it. Now, this is for a later meeting, but this has to be watched over, because these rental properties get run down, and then people live in them in substandard conditions. And there has to be some way for the county, if we're gonna get into this, to make sure that doesn't happen, to protect our.
Yeah, sound like you want to add another tax though, Trey. And we are the county, not the city of Madison, Ridge, or Canton. Even though we developing and coming to urban county in certain areas, we don't want to hinder our growth, whether it's rent to own or for sale, but the rent to own being in the location that fits.
I agree with you.
That's true.
That trailer park and around Canton is perfect example of people living in substandard conditions.
Yeah, but that happened 45 years ago or 50 years ago.
Okay. David, appreciate it. We may have some questions later for y'all, so
Absolutely.
don't run off anywhere. Representative for D.R. Horton.
Mm-hmm.
If you would come up, please state your name and give your address and.
Hey, yeah, my name's Scott Whitehurst. I am the regional president for the Gulf Coast region. My address is 421 Village Drive, Daphne, Alabama. Yeah, I've been, I'm in my 19th year with the company. Gulf Coast region includes Louisiana, Mississippi, Central and South, the state of Alabama, the Panhandle of Florida, all the way to Tallahassee. That's what I do. The company was started in 1978 by Don Horton in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he has obviously grown over the years. Earlier this year, we closed our 1 millionth house. We've been around a little while, and I have opened numerous markets in the Gulf Coast region over the last almost 20 years. We've got a team here. Stephen French, I know some of you may
Bring
have.
the team up. And this is the first time we've really met the team, so come on up.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Y'all just stand up. Doesn't mean you have to say anything. You can just stand up and come on over here and get on camera.
Yeah, so Stephen French is the city manager here locally in Jackson. He lives in Ridgeland.
In Ridgeland today?
Yes.
He's in Madison?
Or I'm sorry, in Madison today, sorry.
So he lives in Madison County. But he's a representative of Madison County.
Correct. Will Moody, Will just moved up here. Will's been working with me for almost 15 years, is that right?
Is he another Madison County-an? Or
He's looking for a house right now. He's just.
Okay.
I've been looking at Ridgeland and in Madison.
Thank you.
Chris, a local guy. Come up, Chris. Let's see. You've been with us for about a year now.
I live in Brandon.
Thank you, Chris.
And Tom Poulos behind me. Tom works for me at the region level and just goes everywhere. He's primarily focused on purchases of land.
Okay.
Is that everybody? Yep. Real quick, our philosophy is, especially real estate, it's local business. Yes, we are a big company, but we put people in place to live here, to be part of the community, and to learn the market. Because I promise you, if Don Horton thought he could run the company better from Fort Worth than we could here, and he didn't need us, he wouldn't. He would. He would not need us if he didn't want to. But so everything that we do here is local. Everybody's local. Here we've got about a dozen employees today here locally, looking to grow that. As they already said, I mean, we use local subcontractors, vendors.
You guys just moved here? Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Local contractors, vendors, everything's local. We also offer mortgage and title services, which is, I think maybe I'll get an opportunity to answer what you were trying to ask earlier. But as far as that, not required to use our services, but we offer those services. Anything else? I mean, that's just real brief introduction, but I'd be glad to.
Yeah, we'll just start off with the same question.
Sure.
What is D.R. Horton's definition of a quality home?
A nice house where you can raise your family, that is structurally sound and safe. There's various different ways, and a lot of people have different definitions of this.
Yeah, I want to know what D.R.
Yeah,
Horton's
well,
definition
I
is,
just said it.
not others.
That was it. That was it. A home, and I know Carl said that's implicit to me. Obviously, it's got to.
Explain
to me.
to me a little bit more. I mean, when I say a quality home, I'm really expecting a lot more detail. When I asked you for a quality home, what about the elevations of the home? What would they look like? How many elevations do y'all currently have from a 1,500 to a 1,800, 18 to 2,000 and on up?
Well,
is it just one type of elevation?
No.
Well, that's what
Okay.
and I may not be asking.
So, well, the quality to me, you're asking me, quality home means. I guess I didn't understand what you were asking for elevation. So.
Yeah. And I'm not a builder, but the elevations of a home is really the first thing you see when you drive up to that house. And expound a little bit to me, what did D.R. Horton see? And I call it a quality home on the outside, not the inside, but the outside. Definitely.
Okay.
Tell me something about the elevations. Tell me what the outside would look like.
Well, I think that would be different. And just let me do it this way. Let me back up a little bit. So a deal this size for us, we would have more than one price point in this deal. And I know we were talking earlier about where they highlighted the different square footages.
Yes.
And remember, those aren't necessarily the size house we're going to build on every one of those lots. That is the minimum size size houses on every one of those lots. And I would argue, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we are today, but on the bigger size, was it 22,000?
Yeah.
It could be a lot bigger than that. Now if mortgage rates keep going up like they are, it might be tough to do a lot of them, but I'm sure there will be some larger than that.
I think it's 2,300.
Yeah, 2,000.
It's 2,000.
2,000.
It's 2,000, but I mean, I don't see any. There's definitely, it could be over 3,000. Some lots. I'm not saying half of it, but a limited number of those lots.
Okay, so I'm just a little curious. Then we got this diagram or got this picture of of the lots being this amount, and when I asked the developers, and they said, yeah, it's going to be 2,300 at probably the highest. And here I'm hearing you say
that's the minimum.
3,000.
That's the minimum. Well, yeah.
Okay, so was the developers saying the minimum was 2,300?
No, he's saying he was thinking that was the top end of what we could do.
Yeah.
And here you're saying 3,000 possibly.
It could be. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
The size of the house, I think is, we know that we got a minimum square footage of 1,500 and it's going up from there. The quality of the house has been brought to question by a lot of people.
Yes.
They've been throwing all kind of stuff in front of us about D.R. Horton, areas where y'all been sued. Of course, that you just told us y'all built over 1 million houses, and I don't know how that somewhere in those 1 million houses, I'm sure you had good quality house, because but if you listen to what we've been hearing here, you don't build a quality house nowhere.
Right.
They're suing y'all everywhere. Tell me something about what's going on. And I know you're hiring local subcontractors.
Correct.
The concrete man will probably be the same concrete man that built the house next door to me.
Correct.
You're not bringing them in from Alabama or Mexico or none of them other places.
No, sir.
Okay, so, and the framer, the wood framer, he'll probably be the same guy that framed my house, because he's not coming in from Hawaii or nowhere like that, right?
And for the most part, these are the same subs that the other builders in the market are using.
Now, as far as the negatives, and y'all received some negative press, and you probably don't want to discuss it.
Nope,
but
I'm here.
I think you, there was some place that rejected a neighborhood that was planned to be built by your company. And, when we sit back here, we know that there are varying reasons why something might get rejected. Does not necessarily have to say that you're bad. You may have picked a location that we didn't think was good. But tell us a little bit about the negative stuff in people walking through sheetrock walls and there's not enough support.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, like I said, we have built a million houses. Have we screwed up? Yep. Do we always try to make it right? Yes. I'm obviously not going to comment on any particular open litigation today, but generally speaking, when we get into a lawsuit, and if it was something that we screwed up, we usually get in a lawsuit because they won't let us fix it. Any issue gets to me, and this is not just me, but this is our CEO and our chairman, it is fix it. It's not how much is it going to cost, fix it. And that's what we strive to do. We get up every day and try to do a little bit better than we did yesterday. And we're not perfect, but we try to be. And one thing about that, we have been building in Mississippi since 2012. And our Southern Mississippi division is one of the top divisions in the company as far as customer satisfaction. So we have done a really good job in this state since I've been involved in 2012.
Well, nobody's brought that information to us as a board. But, we're in a situation here where, as a board, Madison County Board of Supervisors, we approve the site plan. There was not a rezoning. It was just a site plan put before us. And the developers do that site. And they go out and they invest their money, they buy the land, and they build the roads. And usually, in my experience, the developers then meet with builders, and because they want to sell out their development. And hopefully, they can get the builders to buy every lot they got, even though the lot hadn't been planned yet. But we have never, as a board, since I've been sitting here, we've never told a developer what builders he gonna use. We never asked that question. That's not a part of the zoning. But for some reason, in this development, these developers have been getting hit upside the head. I guess because they got these lots and you all decided you want to buy some of them. So I feel sorry for the developers for having to go through this, because I'm sure there are going to be more builders than you guys building in the subdivision. But that's why you're here, and that's why we're here, because we're doing something somewhat out of the ordinary, and they've used all the negative press that you got to hit us all upside the head. Okay.
Yep.
So, go ahead, Paul.
Just to add to it, I agree with Mr. Banks. And I've been working hard trying to get 3 votes to get y'all approved. That's reading Nick, I was upside your head when you told me something wrong. But what we're doing right now with the builder is we usually don't do it. But since we doing it, I want to ask the question of finance. Are you all gonna finance some of the homes? You going to a bank? If you all gonna finance it, are you gonna finance it to day one, and that person gonna be paying you all to own that house, or is it gonna be financed? They should live in it 10 years and then start buying it. How is that gonna work?
No, okay, so, yeah, good question, I'm glad you asked. So we have our home building operations, we're a builder. We have a sister company that is a mortgage company. Okay, we have a wholly owned subsidiary that we own, it's a mortgage company. It's just like any other mortgage company out there.
Okay.
We offer them some incentive to use them, but it's just like you have to have, good credit score, blah, 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 and all that, and qualify for a loan just like you would anybody else. Anybody else, no different.
Okay. Competition always good.
Yes, and we are fine if you want to use somebody else besides it's DHI Mortgage is the name of our mortgage company.
I know the developers stood up earlier, and we was talking about they're going to approve off on each home as far as signing off on the elevation.
Right.
How many elevations do y'all intend to put in that subdivision? Different types of elevations. Just a rough estimate.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'd say somewhere between 30 and 40.
So there'll be 30 different looks of
Front elevations.
front elevation. Does all of those looks have side garages? Not any in the front?
I don't know the answer to that question. If that's how we haven't gotten that far along. Okay. We've got a lot of tools in our toolbox.
Right.
But we're still a ways away. Well, hopefully not as far away as we could be here, but from getting started. But we've got some time.
Okay. Do y'all have other properties that you're building on in Madison County?
We do.
Where?
Stephen?
We have a
Come on
couple
up to the
sites.
phone.
We have a couple sites in Vision off Moss Road, and we have a couple sites in Ridgeland as well. That is all we have today in Madison County.
And I know some of those, the materials that these guys passed out earlier, the pictures of the houses were our homes. Not all of which, but some of which have been built here in some of these deals he just mentioned.
In Madison County.
That's right.
Okay. Are there other questions for representatives from D.R. Horton at this point?
The home that you all built on Moss Road and Vision, I've been out there and been in one. And from my eye, to not being an inspector, it looks like a good house. And I talked to our inspectors about some of the houses that you all built, and they have told me that they was good, sound, type-built homes.
Okay.
I just wanted to clear up one other thing, and we keep talking about the rental stuff in this. As they've already said, and I want you to hear it from me, because, well, we're going to do what we say we're going to do. But that is, this is not a build-for-rent community. If there is a way, or there's some language that we can come up with that makes everybody happy with respect to, after we sell the house to a homeowner, what they do with it as far as rental, I'm okay with it. The only issue that on my end with that is just to make sure that it stays qualified for FHA or VA financing when we sell it. That's.
And I thought we had came up with that language that Nick had emailed to her earlier.
there may be some language, but, well, I don't know the answer to that.
You probably didn't see it.
I don't know the answer to that, but what I'm saying is if that's the language, or if there's some other language that we may have the same goal here, and I think we're tripping up on each other here a little bit.
Probably so. All right, any other questions for representatives from D.R. Horton? If not, if you would, I would like to, or we would like to entertain any concerned citizen now that's would like to come up and speak at this point. Who's on the list?
All right, I've got 3 on the list. First is Beth Ladner.
Okay, Ms. Beth. Ms. Beth, state your name and give your address, please. And
Actually, Beth had a doctor's appointment and had to leave. My name is Mona Crothers, 412 Audubon Woods, Canton.
Okay.
A lot of these questions that she had have already been answered. For D.R. Horton, you say that you're using local people. What is the...
Bona, if you would, address it to the board, and then we'll,
Okay.
we'll let someone come up and answer them if you don't
Okay,
mind,
sure.
please.
No problem. They stated that they're using local people. I would like to know the name of their local business, building supplier.
Supplier?
Mhm.
Okay. Y'all take notes, because y'all get a chance to come back up.
Also, the preliminary plat that was in the newspaper showed the neighborhood amenities. I would like to know what the neighborhood amenities were, because in that plat, it didn't look like there was anything or any room for anything.
Yeah, I didn't see any at all.
Right,
actually.
thank you. For the developer, it looks as if the main entrance to Woodgate will be directly across from an entrance to to Deerfield, which is where I live. And I think that will be a big hazard with all the traffic, and will that be addressed? Will there be turn lanes added or anything like that?
I think the engineers will be able to answer that at the end.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
The D.R. Horton representative said that there are incentives for the home buyer to use the D.R. finance company. I'd like to know what those incentives are. To the developer, did you know of all the lawsuits and such that are against D.R. Horton? Specifically, it was suggested that they were not used to building homes in the South where we have such high humidity, resulting in all the mold issues. Is that going to be taken care of? I'd like to know specifically if the person who is looking for a house now that works for D.R. Horton, if he has considered moving to, I think there's still some houses in Sweetbriar that are D.R. Horton built. Has he considered buying one of those houses? What is the number of houses that will be over 2,200 square feet? Also, to anyone looking from D.R. Horton for a home to buy, have you considered looking in Deerfield, which is directly across the street from the Woodgate subdivision? And if not, why not?
Ma'am, we really need to keep this directly on the subdivision we're talking about.
Okay, well, I made my point, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Next.
Next on the list is Ron Gaines.
Mr. Gaines.
Ron Gaines, 318 Fox Hollow in Deerfield.
Thank you.
Mine are basically developer questions.
Developers, take note.
Preliminary plat submitted by MS Homes, LLC, was approved by the Board of Supervisors on March 6th, 2023. And according to the county, there were no proposed covenants. Now, Greg told me this morning there were some proposed covenants that came in Friday. So, and nobody's had a chance to really look at them, and I would like to have a copy, if you could email me a copy of those.
Well, I'll get your email after the meeting, sir.
Yeah. I'll send you an email requesting it. The attorney, Mr. Humphreys, I believe, mentioned that there was a third owner, and I didn't get the name of the
The developers mentioned that, I think.
I'm sorry.
I think the developers mentioned there was three developers.
Right, it was 3 owners.
So you're asking who the other one
I know
is?
Carl and
Nick.
Nick. It was the third one that they mentioned, but I didn't get to hear it.
I didn't hear that either because I
Okay.
don't think they mentioned it. Yeah.
Who is it?
There was also mentioned, the attorney mentioned Woodgate Developers LLC, but what you approved was MS Homes LLC, and the plat was by MS Homes LLC. Now, the second preliminary plat that was submitted, including the proposed covenant, there was some proposed covenants submitted with that one. It expanded the development to include additional homes, and the Board of Supervisors tabled the review and approval into a traffic study, and discussion on the size of homes could be made. The date of this board action was May 15th, 2023. The submission of these documents was made by MS Developers, LLC, which you've tabled. Who is MS Developers, LLC?
Okay.
Is the difference.
Mr. Humphreys?
And why the name change? Minimum home size was shown to be 1,500 square feet, with the exception of 93 homes shown at 1,420 square feet that were designated as the Gardens of Woodgate. It's our understanding that this second expanded preliminary plat was taken off the table by the developers. Is that still true? And what is the status of that? Who is your soils engineer, and has an analysis and report been issued? Has a testing lab been chosen? Who will be providing the soils testing for each home pad? Will it be the developer or the builder? And I think you add, will D.R. Horton own any interest in the Woodgate subdivision?
Would they what now?
Own any interest other than the builder?
Common ground in the area?
Yes.
Is what you're asking?
Right.
Okay.
And I think this was answered. Will any other builders have access? And it was said earlier that only D.R. Horton would be the builder of all these homes. Who decides the design for each lot?
I think that was answered. The developers will approve each one, so I would think that they would have the final say on the design.
And the package that was submitted, that we kind of briefly looked at this morning, shows Homeland is their homeowner association representative.
What was the last question?
It was a picture on what they sent, says Homeland Development is the managing
The HOA committee?
Yeah, they have a management group, and they do ours too, so. I just
Are you asking?
Is Homeland going to be the one that's going to manage it?
Okay.
And I believe they've answered all my other questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. Next, Greg?
Oh, sorry, next up will be Regina Edwards.
Ms. Edwards? Please state your name and give address, please.
Regina Edwards, 639 South Deerfield Drive, Canton. Excuse me. Raise this up a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I appreciate all the questions that you guys have asked D.R. Horton and the developers. You answered a lot of our questions. I don't know if we're any happier going out as coming in as we're going to be going out. I still think we have a lot of questions. But my questions are directly more toward the board. You have recently approved the widening a section of Yandell Road from West Fallon Drive to Highway 51. To be honest, this isn't much more than putting a Band-Aid on a pothole, but we'd like to know when construction will begin on that, or will it be after or before the development of Woodgate? And I guess the biggest question that every homeowner in our area, Deerfield, Sagefield, Harvey Crossing, Bainbridge, Kemper Creek, our biggest question is to the board, what are you going to do to ensure that our property values do not depreciate with the Woodgate development? I've heard what y'all had to say. I'll be honest, I don't know if I trust you or not. I've read all the negative publicity, as he said, we don't trust them right now. But there's a lot of retired people in Deerfield.
Right.
And we're not wanting to put a for sale sign in our front yard and move out. But we also don't want to see all the money that we have put into our property just sink away because of a poorly planned development. And the traffic, I don't even know how to address that anymore. And I wanted to tell you, I know Mike Espy has warned y'all, which is his job, about lawsuits. And I've talked to many of our neighbors, and we know we can't do anything until the first houses are built to determine if there is a depreciation value. But we have been able to find out from some attorneys that we can also file a lawsuit should we start losing value in our homes, and that we can actually sue the Madison County Board of Supervisors, the developers, and the builders. And I will close with that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Regina. We have any others?
No, sir.
Any others would like to come up and speak on this matter? If not, it's time to answer some questions. And Tim, I'm going to wait to the very end to answer on the Yandell Road deal as far as engineer. The D.R. Horton, y'all come up and there were several questions that I think were directed to y'all.
One of the questions was about what suppliers we use.
State your name.
Stephen French.
Okay.
Typically, we use anybody who's around town. I mean, you can drive anywhere around the Madison County area and see 84 Lumber is a prominent supplier, somebody we buy from. Bailey Lumber, Cherokee Brick, they're all local suppliers that we use today. Canton Concrete, Delta Industry. I mean, it's anybody who's around town, local suppliers.
Mona, was that your question?
That was my question.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I believe you asked about what incentives we were using for. Typically, we pay the closing costs if you use our mortgage company. That's typically what the incentives are.
Great.
And I think the amenities was in there as well. I think she asked something about the amenities, about the pool, the clubhouse.
I think that was for the developer.
The what now?
Developer.
Developers. Okay. Good deal. Let me see. And she mentioned, I think, homes over 2,200 square feet.
The honest answer, I don't know. It depends on what happens between now and then and what we can sell and what the market will bear at that point. I can tell you obviously we want to get as much as we can get for the houses, but remember, those footages, I want to say that again, are the minimums and of that. So we know we're not what we won't go lower than, but we don't know how many we might go higher than that.
But this proposed footage sheet that you handed out, that is the minimum of each lot.
That is
what
correct.
you're saying.
That is correct.
1,500 square foot easily could be 17.
It could be.
Could be, and the I think 2,000 could easily be 2,500.
Correct.
You know, something like that. So it depends on.
That's fair.
Okay. All right. And she mentioned about the main entrance as well. Developers? Okay. All right.
Asked about the mold and humidity.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Can y'all answer that?
I mean, I can answer it. I mean, I've been doing this since 2006, and have we had mold issues or stuff before? Yes. More on the coast than here, but I'm from Birmingham, so about the same climate there as it is here, and the answer is yes. I mean, that's not a concern of mine at all here.
Okay. And also, I think Mr. Gaines asked a couple of questions, and it really depends. I mean, it's pointed at the developers as well. I think as far as the engineer, as far as soil testing, have you picked out a testing lab? Who would do that?
I mean,
is that left up to the developer or the homeowner, or?
Oh, I think it's both. I think it's both. I mean, they're going to have some of that, and we're going to have that on. I mean, we're going to do compaction tests on every slab before a slab.
And y'all would do.
And they've got to do some on the roads and stuff like that, so.
Y'all would do a soil test on each home.
Do compaction test, yes.
Okay.
Good, good.
All right. All right, because I think some others belongs to the developer. And let me see, Ms. Edwards really didn't have anything for y'all. Okay, thank you.
Y'all did ask if Will would consider buying one of our homes. I think Will will say as soon as he sells his home where he moved from, he would be happy to buy a home anywhere. He's looking for that. So.
Okay. Thank you for that info. Okay, developers, please come up, and there's several questions for y'all as well.
Right. I think somebody asked, did we consider D.R. Horton and the negative publicity and all that, and we've communicated that to y'all in our meetings. Yes, we did. I actually went down and toured in Alabama and toured a subdivision called Jubilee that they told us to look at, which is what they would model Woodgate after. So I went and boots on the ground, walked homes, looked at everything, that sort of thing. Also met with upper-level executives and watched them build. I built in Sweetbriar at the same time that they built in Sweetbriar. Down the street, same subs, inspected with them, walked with them, looked at them, developed a relationship with them. So yes, we did consider that. The amenity, if you look at the proposal, the color-coded proposal from the top, that's that main entrance, go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The slashed area on the corner is approximately 3/4 of an acre. There's your amenity. The preliminary plat being Mississippi Homes is just a typo. Nick knew Richmond that did the engineer, and Richmond has done some work for Nick before. Nick's company, his building company, is Mississippi Homes, so he just threw Mississippi Homes on there. So who is Mississippi Developers? Mississippi Developers is Nick and I. We developed together on our own in other parts of this state and down in Rankin County. Woodgate Developers is Mississippi Developers and Parker Sullivan. That's our third partner.
Your third partner is?
Parker Sullivan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Amenity, the homeland is just an example. So when we get through the subdivision, we're going to turn it over to a professional management company. Homeland is who we've used before. They're probably the most prominent in town. That was just an example. Have I missed anything? Do you know?
Yeah, the main entrance.
Yeah, the main entrance is right there where I talked about, right there, top of the page, coming in right there. And then you'll go down, I'm terrible at distances, but I'm going to call it about 10 or 15 lots. And you see that what looks like a rectangle with lines through it, that's our amenity. That's where that is, 3/4 of an acre. is where the amenity will go, right there.
What all are you planning on having?
That kind of what that rendering says, a nice pool, big pool with cabana on one side and then a grilling area, covered area on that other side.
Talk about this page.
Correct, that's it.
And you say it's about?
That area right there is about 3/4 of an acre. And then, this property, it will be, the mailbox cluster system as required by the Canton postmaster, like every other subdivision. So there'll be various spots around the neighborhood where those will be located.
How many phases are y'all proposing for this acreage at this time?
Typically we'll drop about 50 lots at a time. So whatever that math is.
What kind of time are you looking at for this to be developed?
Fully developed?
Yes.
5 to 7 years, 8 years. A lot of it will depend on the market.
And we're talking about this current subdivision, not I understand y'all have extra property there?
Yes.
Or you're talking about the extra piece of property being developed during that time, or just piece
Not sure at this time, not sure. But just speaking about this, I would think
5 to 7 year.
5 to 7 year window.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? If not, David, anything you'd like to add?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to appear, and as you deliberate or have other questions, we're here and available.
All right. Yeah, because we're going to bring our engineer up, and we're going to probably get into a couple other things concerning this. But also, my understanding is, just kind of sum it up, that we're going to get back with y'all with a couple of covenants, HOA covenants, and kind of continue to move forward with some type of solution that we all can live with.
That would be great.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, thank you.
Tim? The question was addressed about the entrance of this subdivision and Deerfield, I believe.
Correct. That was addressed in the traffic impact study that they presented as far as for this development. In that study, there is a left turn lane westbound into this development and a right turn lane eastbound into this development. That's a decision that the board will have to make as to who will fund that. And so, and if we're going to require that. But it is a recommendation that was made by Kaiser Traffic for this development. How much is that? I would estimate that to be about a $300,000 cost. And as part of that, there is also the recommendation, since that is an intersection into Deerfield, there is a left turn lane that's recommended to go into Deerfield as well. And I would think that the county would need to participate if the county elects to, enforce that the developer puts their portion in, that the county needs to put in the portion going into Deerfield.
That's a discussion that we need to have.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a discussion that I can make here. That's something
meeting.
that you all need to do.
Right. And as far as the traffic study, those are the only two things concerning this subdivision that they're recommending at this point.
Right, at this point. Kaiser Traffic is also doing an overall study of Yandell Road, and there are other things that are going to come out of that study. But, we already know that the intersection of North Old Canton and Yandell Road is over capacity and that there needs to be improvements there. This development doesn't help that, but it's already over capacity and it already needs signals. It already needs a signal and some additional lanes, so.
And I think it was Ms. Edwards mentioned, about Yandell Road and
the widening from Westphalen up to the school.
Right.
Where we are with that is we're about to start buying right-of-way. We've got 6 parcels that we need to acquire. We expect that to take about 6 months to handle. We expect right after that to start moving utilities, and we hope to have that project underway in the next 12 months.
Okay, and the project would take approximately how long?
12 to 18 months.
Okay, 18 months or so to finish.
Somewhere in there.
County's role in ensuring allow more houses to be built. If we know a road's already over capacity, what is our role? what should we watch out for or do to make sure that people don't get hurt on Yandell Road?
Well, that's what we're doing with the study that Jonathan is doing for us. We're determining our pinch points. I mean, the road itself is not necessarily over capacity. It's got, if I remember correctly, 6,000 cars, ADT on that road.
Depending on where you are.
Yeah, I think the worst case scenario is 6,000 cars a day, which if you had free flowing traffic, that's fine. It's where you get the pinch points, or the backups at the school and at Clarkdale Extension, places like that where it starts to back up because of intersections and other things is where you start getting congestion.
How many cars a day?
Jonathan, you want to answer that for me? It's 1,900.
Jonathan, state your name and address, please.
Jonathan Kaiser with Kaiser Traffic, Greystone Drive in Madison. It depends, and if you look at what Florida uses as far as like a peak hour volume, a maximum capacity where they evaluate capacity by hour, it's about 860 vehicles per hour. And there are parts of Yandell on the west end that are at that level. From a daily perspective, you can look at Highway 463, where it transitions from a 2-lane to a 4-lane, and it carries about 19,000 vehicles a day. So there's a big range by hour, depending on whether you're looking at an hourly or daily capacity.
Where this neighborhood's entrance is, and their path from their entrance to the interstate, is it over capacity?
There are portions that are, at the interstate area at Highway 51 that are at capacity.
He's asking where this development would tie into Yandell. Is it over capacity?
It's not over capacity where this development ties in, but he asked at the interstate. And
That's something we should take into consideration before.
It is something that I think is in the discussion, but there are also alternatives to Yandell Road, and that is part of the Sowell Road Extension project, is something that's going to provide some relief to the north. You've got the Reunion Parkway Phase 3 to the south. So for people that get to Old Canton and Yandell Road, they have options, and they can go north to this proposed extension. There's people that still use East Sowell Road today to get to West Sowell and get to that area, to the school, and to the interstate. You've got Old Canton that turns into Cotton Blossom that is under construction with Reunion Parkway Phase 3, which is going to ultimately connect to I-55 and to Bozeman Road. So there are other options that people have, particularly on this east end of Yandell Road. There are people west of Old Canton that don't, that would have to backtrack, and that's part of what the other study is going to look at as far as what are some other capacity improvements that we can do short term to improve circulation and capacity in that section of Yandell Road.
Thank you, Jonathan. Tim, anything else that you'd like to add to this?
I think that was all the questions that I had, or they had.
Okay. All right. As far as discussion goes, that was a long discussion, but it was very much needed. And I think there's a lot of information that was given. But one thing that we want the public to know is that, the Board of Supervisors is responsible for infrastructure. We definitely look at Yandell Road. That is a priority. And not the only road in Madison County that needs to be looked at, but it is a priority, and we are moving forward with the traffic study to see what it would be recommended for the board, the next step to take. Board of Supervisors, are there other questions at this point?
Couple things before we close out, Mr. President. First, I want to say to D.O. Horton, I want to thank y'all for coming up here, because what we're doing now is out of the ordinary. We have never done this before on a development.
bring in the builders. So thank y'all for coming. Nick, y'all developer, make sure that we're on the same page. If you're gonna come up and try to get something approved. And don't give it to us at the last minute. Let us get it in time so we can look over it. And there have been mention about overcrowding schools. The schools are building on to what, Germantown now? So if we bring in more kids, they gonna build a new school or add on. And this board do not govern the schools. They got a board themselves. They get revenue from you, the taxpayers, to build or do what is needed for our kids. All right.
Thank you. If there's not anything else, we just need to work with developers on the HOA covenants. And so if we will, Greg, Scott, Mike, y'all, let's work together on that with the developers. So if there's not anything else, appreciate y'all coming and participating, and we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank y'all. Hey, next item, y'all are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the agenda now. Thank y'all.
All right.
The next on the agenda, Mr. Banks.
Wait till it calm down a little bit. Where is Darren?
It's what?
Thought I saw Darren around here. He's here. He coming in. Darren, come on.
We're just going to give them a few minutes to kind of clear out a little.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on.
Well, we got a new Darren.
Settle down,
hey,
Darren.
Hey, Darren.
Come on up in here.
What's up, to Darren?
I guess you on item 48 then.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Hello, everyone.
All right.
I've met most of you, but for those of you I haven't, I'll introduce myself. My name is Garrett Clark. I live in Ridgeland and work for Wagner Engineering.
Hold on one second. Guys, if you will, let's see he's outside, and if we're going to continue to talk, please.
Just socialize that, though.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Start over?
Yeah.
So my name is Garrett Clark, Ridgeland, Mississippi, on Silas Trace. Work for Wagner Engineering. Unfortunately, Darian had to step away for a minute. He's leaving town, but I'll address item 48. We had a committee meeting recently where, in regards to the Bear Creek Watershed project, it was brought up as an item that we'd like to prepare a presentation to show the public and address any comments that they might have. This meeting has been set for October 25th, and I believe right here in this room, so that can be live streamed. This meeting's purpose is to show the alternatives that we have come up with, and again, welcome feedback from the public as well as anybody in attendance, and address where we are, what position we're at with the project, and any further comments.
Well done. Yeah. The whole plan is we're trying to show the public that we're trying to get something, that we get something done. Engineers, they've been, I guess, at their computers and they've been doing whatever. But we need to see work being done or process. We need to know what it's going to look like in the future. So we are hoping that they will bring us several plans that they have in areas of work. I mean, where those things will work, because we may end up with a reservoir in one area, and we may end up with a channelization work done in another area. Those things we want to bring the public in let them have some input also in seeing and being able to discuss what they would like to see. So that's basically what this meeting on the 25th at 6 o'clock is going to be, where we'll all get a chance to see what the engineers are actually working on. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the update.
All right.
Info. All right, Minor.
Well, good afternoon, supervisors.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I got some good news. Outside, sitting in the parking lot, we have 2 brand-new fire trucks we had ordered like 18 months ago. They have been delivered. We're not ready actually to put them in service, but we're working on that also. But I need now, they're not quite ours until we pay for them. So I need y'all. I have inspected the trucks, and they met all the requirements in the process that we order the trucks. And the comptroller's office has went out there and went through the trucks too, and they said they accepted them too.
What do you need from us?
We need y'all to accept the trucks and authorize Greg and the comptroller to make payments.
Payment and in interfund transfer while we wait on some grant money to roll back in. So that's going to be, it's 90 grand a truck.
Yeah, we did get 180,000 grant on the trucks too.
We got a motion from Supervisor Griffin, second from Supervisor Banks. You got the motion? You working on it?
Yeah, he's working on it.
To accept and pay.
Yeah, that's fine. Accept and pay with any interfund transfers or budget amendments as needed. And I can get you the language, but the idea is to get the check out.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a motion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thanks.
And the trucks will be down after the meeting for y'all to.
And the trucks will go to where?
One would go to Flora, who covers like 90 square miles for the county, and one would be assigned to Canton, which is covering the new Central Madison County Fire Protection District around county.
Good deal. Thank you.
Okay.
Tim?
This past Friday morning, we accepted bids from 2 companies for the NRCS Emergency Watershed Program along East Sim Street. At the recommendation of Wagner Engineering, we recommend that we accept the bid of RNC Services LLC for the amount of $153,389.
Motion.
Got a motion.
Second.
Supervisor Griffin, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Scott? Where is Mr. Weeks? There he is.
I only have one item left, and it's Marie Edwards Lewis, this permit refund for $115.
Do I have a motion?
Move.
Motion Supervisor Jones, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ms. Espy?
2 issues. Ragsdale Solar LLC is about to begin building the solar electric generating plant,
Give us a short version of it.
which is north of Nissan. So this is a road use agreement. When they bring in their heavy equipment to build the plant, they're gonna cross county roads. And so this is an agreement that I reviewed. It's a solid agreement. They're putting up a bond if they damage any county roads. So I'd like to authorize the president to sign this agreement.
Do I have a motion?
Move.
Motion Supervisor Banks, second Supervisor Griffin. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And the other is a cooperative agreement with the city of Flora. It's a little bit different than usual because the county is going to improve the roads in Flora, and Flora's going to repay the county. I think it's like $125,000.
Yeah. I'd like to make that motion. I think it's the contractor is going to improve the roads. Is that right, Tim?
Yes, sir. It's a way.
Yeah.
It's a way for Florida to access our term bid.
Yeah.
Because our term bill bid is lower than theirs, and they can
Correct.
save money, get more work done?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Okay, got a
correct.
motion, Supervisor Banks. I'll second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Greg?
All right, good afternoon. 3 things listed and 1 additional just reminder. Item 55 is a request from the city of Canton. There was a resolution and a road list.
Still have a motion to acknowledge.
Move.
Got a motion Supervisor Jones, second Supervisor Banks, discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Super. Item 56 this is me pinch hitting for Albert while he's at a conference. There are 2 E911 fund requests attached to your agenda. The first from the city of Ridgeland, second from the city of Gluckstadt. Ridgeland's was approximately $121,000 request. Gluckstadt was $454,000 request. I have some reservations about the city of Gluckstadt request. There are 2 components to any 911 system. At their most basic, it is you receive the call, and then you have to get that information out to the folks that are going to respond, right? 2 steps in the process. Take the call, get out the call. Sheriff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a gross oversimplification, but that's the idea. The city of Gluckstadt's asking for us to provide both of those steps. After discussing this with Albert this morning and over the last few days, historically, we have not provided that second step of getting the call out to the responders. Our E911 funds generally cover PSAPs, which are the answering points. That's the first step in the process. You answer the call. To do that, that costs $179,000. That is 1 PSAP with 2 positions. I got that information personally from AT&T. So $179,000 would be my recommendation, and I confirmed that with Albert this morning as well. We are of one accord there.
I know we've talked about this a good bit. Tell me the $179,000 option. First of all, what's the lead time on getting the equipment?
According to AT&T, 6 to 8 months, but they're not going to touch it until Gluckstadt has a building, because they don't want to store AT&T does not want to store 911 equipment.
So Gluckstadt's going to have to go 6 to 8 months without being able to dispatch?
Right now, they're dispatching through our sheriff's office. If we were to order it for them, they don't have a place to put this equipment yet anyway. They are building the police station down there, the $6 million or whatever it was for their police station. This equipment would eventually go in there.
So $179,000 allows them to do what?
To receive the calls, and it's the PSAP that we have historically provided for other municipalities as well.
And how much is this part of the system that allows them to send the calls to the office?
That would be the remainder of the 454, so about 275.
I want to come back on the discussion. I know Ridgeland's is pretty simple. It's in the budget moving forward, so I'm going to make a motion for approval
I'll second that
of
motion.
that one. Second, Supervisor Banks, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Moving back to Gluckstadt, and just following up what Supervisor Baxter was saying, and you said there's 2 parts to this, and I think one part is there's a long lead time to order. And is that the part of the console and the equipment that takes a while to get in? I think you said that the county hasn't done that in
Correct.
the past. Now, one thing that I guess I'm thinking out loud at this point, this is a new setup.
Correct.
And I know we probably hadn't done that in the past, but I think we probably need to help them set it up. And then if they want to maintain it like the other cities do, that'd probably be fair, at that point. And that amount, you say is 275?
Roughly, yes, sir.
And is this the part that takes a while to order and come in?
I do not have the information on the lead time. The part that sends the information out is the CAD system, which I'm sure stands for something, but I couldn't tell you what. Probably computer-aided dispatch or something comparable. That part I do not have as much information on. I don't know what the lead time is there. The lead time for the PSAP, which is the answering point, is 6 to 8 months. But AT&T's not going to do much with it until there's a building for them to put it in.
Yeah, I think
But I don't
that's-
know the lead time on the CAD
Yeah,
side
I think
of
that's
things.
time, we could probably wait on that, but the other, I think the lead time on that could be a year or so, from what I understand at this point.
That may be the case.
Yeah. I think we probably need to move forward with that to help them if that's the case. I wish Albert was here, but he's not. But from what I understand is the lead time on that is about a year. So with that being said, I would make the motion, for approval. Did you say 250?
Well, the whole request is 454, or whatever number is attached to your agenda, but it's 454 and change.
Okay.
454 to 46.
But some of them that they do not need at this point, right?
None of it.
I would
Or do
argue
they
that
need all of it at this point?
They're trying to build a building. I don't know when the building, what's the time frame on the building being finished?
Longer than 6 to 8 months, but I don't know when.
I'm just looking for the, I'm just looking for the,
I'd probably clear a lot of it.
Yeah, sheriff can help some.
Yeah.
Probably more than I can.
yes.
You're correct. The lead time's about a year on that particular part of the equipment, and you're correct on the 6 to 8 months on the AT&T part. The building, I just talked to the mayor. They're promising him they'll be complete in a 12-month period, which is why this is before us now, because they're wanting to get the equipment ordered so that when the building is complete, they can, it'd be coincided right there together and they can install it.
So, yeah, so, and I guess the equipment is a year out from what I understand as far as.
Right.
The building's a year.
And the building.
The
is a year,
building.
But they need to go ahead and order for the equipment now, and that's
Right.
what I was more or less, my motion was 250. But the other part, did they need it as well at this point?
Yes, it's a two-part
Okay.
system. One won't work without the other.
No, I know that, but do they need the money now to be able to order?
Why don't we just approve the whole thing?
Let's do it.
And then they
I
can
would
order
think so,
time.
because that is not a guaranteed 6 to 8 months. It may
Okay.
end up being 12 also.
Yeah.
Ms. Banks, you got the motion?
No, Mr. Baxter made
Ms.
the
Banks, you
motion.
got the motion?
Motion to, but the total's 454.
450.
That's 54 it is, yeah.
So the motion's for us to approve 454 for the entirety of the system.
Right.
I'll second that.
You, all right, got a motion by Supervisor Baxter, second by Supervisor Banks. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All opposed?
All right.
Okay.
Item 57, this is just something I didn't get till Friday afternoon, or it just would have been on the claims docket. This is a authorization to transfer the ARPA funds in accordance, to MACWA in accordance with the MCWI agreement. They confirmed they have a separate bank account set up, which is the first step in the monitoring for 2 CFR 200. They've confirmed that, so they've asked for the money. We have an agreement that says give them the money, just need y'all's authority should you opt to.
Move to do whatever he said.
All right, got a motion from Supervisor Banks. I'll second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
All right, and there is one other thing I just want to mention, and y'all know this, it's for the folks watching. October 25th, between 3 and 6 p.m., there is a Veterans Town Hall sponsored by the Madison County Veterans Services officer, and that will be at the Canton Multi-Purpose Center on Soldiers Crossing,
Soldiers
Colony, I was so close, Soldiers Colony Road.
Too close.
Here in Canton, 3 to 6, come get the status of your claims checked. Come here from Mississippi VA and the regional office and the Veterans Hospital in Jackson. That's your opportunity to come hear from those folks.
Okay, good deal.
Greg, can you get, a veteran affairs person, send somebody to the radio station, let them announce that, so we can get it out, or have they done that?
The Heath Hall is aware of it. I believe that is the part of what he is doing is he's blasted it out on Facebook, and along with the project update on the flood control projects, that should all be at the radio station, according to Heath. So we should hear it soon. And we're going to continue to put it on our social media, and I think it's coming out in the paper shortly as well, a brief conversation between one of the reporters and Mr. Kemp. So look for that probably this Thursday would be my guess.
Okay, thank you. Nassan?
All right. Items 58 through 60 is the budget amendments and the claims docket and 1 payroll docket.
Move.
Got a motion from Supervisor Baxter, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Next.
Fleet Corps.
Do what now?
The Fleet Corps.
Oh, you went all the way down then.
Oh, we just went down close to that.
All right, item number 61 is the Fleet Corps claim docket.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You like that, Ronnie? That's official.
Item 62 is approval of the final budget amendments for FY 2023 and authorized publication.
Move.
Got a motion from Supervisor Banks, second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
And the last item, number 63, is the opera quarterly report for the third quarter 2023. To file that.
Have a motion?
Move.
Motion Supervisor Banks. Do I have a second? I'll second. Who seconded? Sheila. Sheila seconded. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, that's it.
Mr. Lott?
Nothing, Mr. President.
Sheriff?
Two quick things. If I could get you to acknowledge the inmate meal log I've provided your clerk for the last month.
Move.
Got a motion, Mr. Banks, second Supervisor Jones. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
And authorize the board president to sign monies that we are returning from the DPS grant, the alcohol grant.
Got a motion Supervisor Baxter, second Supervisor Jones. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
All right.
Who voted on that? Who voted on that?
Just the mayor.
Okay, Mayor, details of the fund? Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't remember.
All right, old business, new business.
Adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn to November the 6th, 9 a.m.? Got a motion, Supervisor Griffin, second Supervisor Banks. Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Dang. Shit, this was a marathon meeting.
I guess I did those things right. I shouldn't do only everything.